are you tapping on the mic?
Sorry about that.
Like, what? That hurt.
I'm sorry. Is this thing on? Is this
Is
thing
this
on?
thing on?
Oh man. All right. Sorry about that. Are you finally ready to go, Erica?
I think. I mean, I guess I'm ready.
Let me
We'll find out.
yeah, there was a I don't know if we're gonna be on the Crusade channel today, as I was saying before. So I'm trying to make sure that everything is kosher just in case. And let's see.
Kosher? Is that a Thanksgiving joke?
All right, I want to go ahead and start the show if it's okay with you.
Amen.
Amen. Let's do it. Oh, here we go. Welcome to the breakdown, everybody. This is Aaron Barker, broadcasting from an undisclosed location deep behind enemy lines, asking the questions that get you kicked out of Bible study and sent to therapy. Thank you all so very much for the opportunity to be in your vehicle, office, residence, warehouse, farmhouse, henhouse, outhouse, or doghouse, wherever you may be listening to the breakdown today. Big show today, a lot of stuff. Always a big show. We got to sell it like that. It's a big show today. A lot of stuff to talk about. There's you can go to the Substack, aaronbarker.substack.com, which is where you can keep up with the program and all the other musings that I intend to write. And I'll give a little update on that in a minute. But aaronbarker.substack.com. And we have a lot of stuff I do want to get into today. We have everything from Frankie Valli all the way to some bad theology stuff. Of course, more serious kind of crap that we got to talk about. That we'll just throw in there, like stuff on Anthony Fauci and RFK, etc. But you can follow the show over on Rumble. Don't forget to like and share the show and tell everybody else about it so they can join along with the program. We are joined, as always, by the lovely misinformation herself, Erica Sauer. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we are sans the bearded pastor today. He's traveling back to his Paducah home today. So he's in an old Kentucky home for his family for Thanksgiving, and he's traveling today. So he will not be joining us this week, but he should be back next week, and then we'll continue on with the program there. Erica, how was your Thanksgiving, by the way?
Quiet. It was good, though.
Quiet. I like that. It did seem, for some reason, the two. I mean, we usually do the two Thanksgivings like we have with my wife, with her side of the family, and then with and her side of the family just mainly was her mom and her dad up until her mom passed away, of course, and then we would go to my aunt's house for the other half. But this year, it seemed relatively quiet and relatively chill, which I was perfectly fine with.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. My son is down in Louisiana with my parents. He went down to Florida and drove my parents over there because they insisted on going, and at their age, that's not a drive I really want them to make. So he went down there, and he comes back on Tuesday. So it was just me and my daughter, and we went to my, she needs to see her grandparents. So we went to over there for a couple hours, and then that was it. I pretty much just watched football and hung out. I didn't have to cook.
What'd you think about the football on there? Should the Bears have called their timeout? Did you see that the Bears fired their head coach because of that debacle on Thursday?
I mean, the Bears are a disaster on a regular basis. If you can't fix it, feature it. The Bears are horrible. They constantly make this is like the 5th game in a row that they've lost due to a weird play calling. It's just, I don't know. Fire whoever you want. It's a problem. It's always been a problem.
Who's worse though? Who's more of a disappointment, the Chicago Bears or the Cincinnati Bengals? Because The Bengals have such an asset in Joe Burrow, who's throwing and playing better than most quarter. By the way, we're Sports Central right here. We know all there is to know about sports.
Right.
But Joe Burrow was playing amazingly well and connecting so much with Jamar Chase, but they just cannot win. And it's so frustrating. People are like, the Bears are the biggest embarrassment in the NFL. And I'm like, the Bengals, how about those
I
guys?
yeah, I mean, I guess. You can't just win with Brady and Gronk. You gotta have more.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they've got depth in Chase Brown, but the thing about it is they're not the Kansas City refs. I mean, the Kansas City Chiefs. So that's their biggest problem.
I mean, oh god, the Kansas City just please don't even get me started, unless you wanna talk about how people who are Taylor Swift fans are less intelligent.
Yeah, well, there that is something very similar to that in the show. The show bucket. But let's dig into that right now. We're going to get into the chum bucket. We're plumbing the depths of the internet's most fascinating accounts of our life and times. Now, Frankie Valley, probably huge when you were in college, Erica. But
What?
Frankie Valley,
What? What? Maybe when my mom was in college?
have you
My
seen the videos of
goodness.
Frankie Valley and him the lip syncing controversies and all that stuff? Have you seen any of that?
No.
There has been speculation and concern of elder abuse when it comes to Frankie Valley, his performance. So here's this is one of the videos that has been circulating, and it's actually I feel bad for the guy because somebody that was so popular, huge band, and now this is what he's essentially been reduced to. But this is Frankie Valley at 90 years old, lip syncing at a concert. I'm pretty sure it's unmuted. Yeah, there we go.
Wait. No.
I feel so that's one of them, but there's also, let me see if I can find the one of them singing
That's terrible. I that's terrible.
yeah, I mean he looks like an animatronic when he does this. He looks like one of those creepy at Chuck E. Cheese animatronics when you see him. Here's this other one.
No. No.
That's what he is. I mean that's what is happening now. There was one where they were
Oh,
singing, I think it was, what is that, Saturday Night Fever or something like that. What's the other popular? I can't remember the name of it. But he was that's what it looks like when he's out there lip singing. And
no, that's terrible.
yeah, well,
That's
people are like,
terrible.
yeah,
Did
people are
you
like,
hear someone screaming in the crowd like, "Woo! What are you kidding?" What?
I think it's like one of those, you just feel bad, like if um the somebody at the nursing home does something regular that everybody else does, like they sit their coffee cup down on the table without spilling it or something like that, and they're like, "Yay, look at you did a great job putting that cup down." And it's like, "Oh, look at Frankie Valley up there." But yeah, the Curtis in the chat said more like Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah, I mean, that's who's doing that to him?
He said that he recently went public on it. Grease was the other one that he was singing. That's what it was. Grease. And
Oh, nope. Mm-mm.
but it says here, people are complaining. They're saying he's not even singing. It's so sad. That's elder abuse, just making money off him. It's not right. He's not singing. Love him, but it's time to give it up. He is 90 years old, by the way.
Mhm.
Fans suggest that Valley was being made to perform against his will. Somebody said, someone connect me to the Vegas loan shark making Frankie do this. I'll buy his debt so the poor man can rest. Somebody else said, this is so sad. He's a legend and shouldn't be subject to this humiliation. But other people were saying, came to his defense, of course, as they always do. But he did say, I know there's been a lot of stuff on the internet about me lately, so I wanted to clear the air. I am blessed to be 90 years old and still be doing what I love to do. And as long as I am able, and audiences want to come see me, I'm going to go out there performing as always. And let me see here.
Okay, whatever. Whatever. I
Yeah,
mean, I guess if that's really him writing that, I mean, that looks like if we put Joe Biden on stage and told him to lip sync to the Bee Gees, I mean, that doesn't look like he's enjoying himself. He looks like he's terrified.
it does. I mean, like, and some of those words he doesn't even seem to be saying. He just seems to be like, "Buh, buh,
He's
buh," like
just
barely
puppet,
moving his
like,
mouth.
opening his mouth up and down, like, there's no formation. It's not like he's taking a breath. Like, you have to
Yeah,
it's just
he's just like, I mean,
that's
honestly, it looks
terrible.
like a puppet, like a Muppet or something like that. It's like you're gonna see a puppeteer come out from behind him and his hand up the back of him, controlling the
Right.
way he was talking. Let's see. Timmy says that was not written by him. I guarantee you. And he also said, I don't know whose brilliant idea that was, but they need to be smacked right upside the head. We don't condone violence here on the show, Timmy. We don't condone violence.
We understand it, but we don't condone it.
Yeah, we understand, but do not condone. But there are other artists that do this that are younger and shouldn't be doing it. One of the people that do it that I'm actually I guess surprised at is would be Mariah Carey. And I'm actually kind of disappointed because I like Mariah Carey. I think she's a phenomenal vocalist, but she does it, and I'm like, why is she doing it? She's as far as I'm aware, she's not been doing any drugs. She's not had any health concerns that would prevent her from being able to sing. You've got somebody like Celine Dion who's suffering from that stiff person syndrome, and yet she worked through all of that and started singing again, and she's out there belting it out like nobody's business. And Whitney, her decline was because of the all the drug use and abuse that she had put her body through.
Right?
I mean, if you have these bands out there that are lip syncing and they're young folks or they're like 80s rock bands that are semi old, I mean, I don't understand it. I don't like it. If I went to a concert and I'd pay, because you pay good money for these tickets, actually, good money. You pay stupid money for these concerts. If
Right.
I show up at a concert and they're lip syncing, I'm demanding my money back. There's no reason I could listen to that at home.
Mhm.
I could listen to it in my car. I could listen to a live album of you singing this stuff back in your heyday. But there's no reason for these artists and bands to be lip singing.
No. I don't understand why they do it like yesterday at the Ma or Thursday at the Macy's Day Parade. They're not singing live.
Oh yeah, yeah, that's
They're
embarrassing.
not singing live. They're lip syncing. I mean, come on. I I don't know. I think it's ridiculous what people pay for concerts at this point.
It is. It is. I mean, like I've received a gift. So Allison and I got a gift I got an early Christmas present, but we're going to go see Metallica in June next year down in Tampa.
Yeah,
And
go. I mean, I don't begrudge you going. That'll be
I don't know.
phenomenal, right?
Oh,
Like, I there are bands I would still go see, but they better be singing. If you go down there and you're listening to Enter Sandman and they're lip syncing,
oh yeah.
no, absolutely not.
So the top 10, I'll just look this up real quick. The top 10 moments of lip syncing here are number 10 is Michael Jackson, Billie Jean. That was in 1983. That's weird. Whitney Houston, The Star Spangled Banner in 1991. New Kids on the Block, just general allegations of New Kids on the Block. I wonder if Millie Vanilli's on this list as well.
Wait, hold on. Hold on. You're telling me the iconic version of the Star Spangled Banner that everyone goes to, that Whitney sang, was lip synced?
Let me see. Whitney Houston National Anthem. Um,
I mean, that's like
2791, 10 days into the Persian Gulf, Whitney Houston took the field at Tampa Stadium and performed the Star Spangled Banner.
yeah, that's like supposed to be around the world the most recognizable and iconic version of the Star Spangled Banner ever performed. And you're telling me it's lip sync? I didn't know that. I was today years old when I found this out.
Let's see, writing for MTV.com in February '09, Gil Kaufman said the song is a legendary take on the national anthem. Lucinda Fisher and Sheila Marikar of ABC News in their articles of lip syncing wrote that Houston's unforgettable rendition of the anthem set the standard that most singers have tried to top. Um, Oh, I guess let me see here. It does. It has in this article. Okay. In the days following Houston's performance in the national anthem, a controversy arose when it was reported that she lip synced to her own pre-recorded version of the song. Accounts of the performance vary. An NFL pregame entertainment official stated that the NFL chose to air the pre-recorded version of the song because we felt there were too many risks to do it live. It's like Bill O'Reilly. In an interview with the New York Post, Best said that was played was protection copy and recorded by Houston several days before the game at an LA studio. It was the Memorex. The singing and music you heard were pre-recorded. Wow.
Wow.
Like
I
these.
mean, no kidding. That's like the version, that is the go-to. I mean, I can see them saying there were too many yeah. I mean, if you've heard it, you know it's amazing.
What are the
But
risks?
wow, I had no idea. Well, I mean, in her case, the notes themselves, I believe it was a cappella, and it is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard.
But it's 91. If this were like, up around the time that, but I mean, at 91, wasn't she pretty much at the heyday of her career at that point? I mean, there was no, when she started to decline, I thought like mid 90s, like that whole performance.
Yeah.
She was at, I think it was
I
the,
don't know why she would. I mean, were they worried about sound? I have no idea why they would make her why she would choose to do that.
yeah.
That's
And then,
crazy. I'm sad I know that.
yeah, I'm
Thanks,
sorry.
Aaron.
You're welcome.
God.
All right. Well, I ruined everybody's childhood on that one. So we'll just move on. We'll just move on to more happy news, like randomly exploding car windows.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, randomly exploding car windows, and what to do if it happens to you. So here's this. This evidently has been something going on. And I honestly did not know. People are acting like, oh yeah, this is something that happens. I did not know that this happened. But here's a news story out of Florida. Of course, it's always gonna be Florida. Here's a news story out of Florida regarding windows and explosions.
Fox 35 investigates spontaneous shattering. Concerns are growing for drivers and mechanics who say car windows are bursting without warning. It happened to one woman in Brevard County, and we found out she's not alone. Fox 35's Esther Bauer looks into how this is even possible and what to do if it happens to you.
This drive took a turn for the worst when that sound sent Jamie Blaskowiak into a frenzy of fear behind the wheel.
I need a place to pull over.
I saw a big hole in my window and I was like, oh, I got shot at.
This is what she saw when she pulled off the road, a gaping hole in her back windshield. She thought bullets barreled through her car, but when she called police,
They verified there was no bullet in the car.
her window had just burst into pieces during the drive, and she says there were no signs anything had hit it.
I didn't even know a window could explode for no reason whatsoever.
We didn't either until we took Jamie's story to auto experts at Gatto's.
These glass windows will rupture. They'll grenade into what looks to be millions of little tiny glass shards.
Gatto's store manager Joe Stanson tells us most cars on the road today are using tempered glass. He says certain stressors can cause it to shatter without warning.
It's very random, but when it happens very quickly.
Stanson says common features like rear windshield defrosters and tinted windows can cause the random explosions.
rapid temperature fluctuation will cause thermal shock, and that's what we're seeing with the tempered glass in these vehicles.
I have never. He said that it's the rapid temperature change, and everybody knows. Like if you take a dish out of the dishwasher, and then you
Right.
put cold water into that dish, then you're automatically like you will. It'll crack the glass. I found that out as a young kid when I got my dad a glass of water. I pulled it right out of the dishwasher, still steaming hot, and
Right.
I poured cold water into it, and the glass just broke, right? I understand the rapid temperature changes, but where I live, in Kentucky, it gets cold, but
Right.
I've never had it to where I've put my rear view or my rear windows defrost on and my window is shattered. I've never heard of this happening before.
I've never heard of it. My rear windows are tinted, and it's currently 13 degrees here. Uh, yeah, I've never
13.
had that problem.
Yeah, I don't get it as well either. I mean,
I
it's
just if you can't turn your defrost on when it's cold out, what's the point? I mean, that's the whole how else am I like,
yeah, how was you supposed to be able to see?
yeah, what am I supposed to do?
Gotta
You know?
Yeah. Sorry, I'm having some issues with my camera. I'm trying to fix that at the same time as doing this over here. Timmy says subwoofers in cars make them explode. Also, for some reason, this woman doesn't seem like she would be rolling down the road bumping
Yeah.
the latest dubstep.
I don't feel like her minivan is equipped with a subwoofer, but,
that
could
is
be.
Yeah, for real. It could. I mean, very possible. Very possible. I highly doubt that, but very possible. Let me see here. Oh, there we go. I'm back. And you all can see my beautiful face now.
I mean, the fact that it's regional, these are all in Florida. Is it happening anywhere else? I feel like maybe there's a manufacturer issue with the glass and they all got distributed the same crap and they're putting it in and it's failing, right? Or it's
Yeah.
installation based. Like are you all going to the same shop?
Yeah, going to the same shop, or if like you're saying, like a recall or something like that, and it does happen in Florida. I mean, why Florida? You know,
Right. I
I mean,
mean, it
there's
doesn't even get that cold there, by the way. I
no,
mean, it's not like there's giant fluctuations in temperature in the state of Florida.
but it says that mechanics are seeing the issue more often. I've not heard of that, and you think you'd
See,
hear about that because I would freak out if I. It's like that one woman who was driving home and she had groceries in her back seat, and she heard this pop, and she reached, but she felt this hit on the back of her head, and she reached back there, and she felt her brain coming out of her head. And she was holding her brain in her skull and called 911. And when they showed up, they opened the door and found out there was a can of biscuits that exploded and the biscuits were on the back of her head, and she thought she was holding her brains, but it was actually just biscuits.
okay.
That
See,
might be nerve wracking.
here's the thing I do want to say about that. Like, who calls the cops because they think that their vehicle's been shot up before looking for bullets? Like, you just get out of the car, like, oh my God, I think I've been shot at, and I'm just going to call the cops?
Would you
No.
say that would be your first instinct is to look for like a casing, or not a casing, but like a bullet in the car?
Yes. Yeah.
Huh.
Before I just call the cops, I would be like, okay, what's happening right now? Is there a rock in my car? Like what because windows don't just burst, right? I mean,
Right.
listen, right, I'd be looking for something, especially if I thought I got shot at, I would be like, "Whoa,
Well, yeah, well, but
like,
your
how did that
instinct,
all miss me?"
yeah, like my instinct, of course, I would be the guy. My immediate thought would go to somebody has thrown something. I've been hit with a projectile, probably a bullet, but I also probably wouldn't stop. Just yards away from where I think someone opened fire on me,
If you
I
think
would
someone
slam the
opened
gas
fire?
and get out of that area because if they're trying to kill me, I'm not a small target.
Okay, well,
So
you
like
saw her. You can pretty much assume she thought she was, just involved in someone else's dispute. I mean,
yeah,
who's gonna shoot that woman?
it's a
She's
white
n
woman shooter.
I'm sure the cops were like, ma'am,
Yeah.
there's no bullets in the car."
Why do you think somebody's trying to kill you, ma'am? What did you do wrong that makes you think somebody's
Right?
trying to shoot you?
Then I mean, immediately, if I'm the cops, I'm like, "This woman's okay, we've gotta" what do they call the medical the crazy ones? What?
Oh,
There's a number, you know, like the cops have a number for when you're certifiable and they come upon you.
oh,
It's like I don't remember what it is, but yeah, they're calling in the white coats at that
oh yeah,
point.
like the psych
Okay.
ward to wrap you up in your yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't
My
know why I can't remember. I'm drawing a blank.
my suspicion would be like, ma'am, who do you think it is that's trying to shoot you? Did you just leave
Right.
like a drug deal or something? What were you doing out here that
Right. Are
made
we in
you think to
Harlem? Like,
shoot?
where are we? Because if we're in
Yeah,
Oak Brook on the 80, probably not. Probably
probably
not.
not happening here. Probably
Right.
not happening there. All right, yeah. So you're listening to the breakdown. We are live on Rumble right now. Also, you can catch us on the Crusade channel at crusadechannel.com. Live radio the way it should be. When we get back from the break, what makes some people less intelligent? According to a study. We'll find that out when we get back. Plus, a woman thinks that her Ring cameras show her without any pants on. That's coming up as well. And some entertainment and paranormal news. Really cool preview of a movie that I love how they're doing this. It's a new trend. But we'll do that when we get back right here on the breakdown. So keep it locked in.
Asking the questions that get you kicked out of Bible studies and sent to therapy.
You're listening to The Breakdown.
Do you not forget, people, to share show all over the place. Share show and like program. And if anybody is over here from the Crusade channel that's joining us from there, we got Timmy. I love how Timmy just makes comments. I see Jay Sparkle's in there. Space Hippie's on there as well. Thank you so much for being there.
And Timmy, you know what you can do with that comment about the women drivers. Enough
Oh,
said.
darn. Shots fired. Tink, tink. Tink, tink, pew, pew.
Tink, tink, pew, pew.
Tink, tink, tink. Pew, pew, pew.
I win. Pew beats Tink.
Tink, tink, pew, 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 tink, tink. This whole thing with this woman and it's funny. It's funny. I mean, there's science behind it. I can't explain it, but there's science behind it. And I think that, have you seen the, like they always talk about the millennial videos where where the person's in the car. Like Greg Locke did this a lot, which I can't stand that guy. But Greg Locke did this a lot, where you're sitting in your car and it's like the cell phone holder, and it's a mirrored shot of somebody in their car ranting about something political or religious.
Always.
Yeah,
They're all over the place.
Yeah, that's like the millennial video that they do. They're like, I'm going to give everybody a minute to hop on here. I'm going to wait till everybody signs on. Well, now this other one.
While you're in your car.
Yeah, while you're in your car. There's this other one where like now the people actually hold the lapel mics in their hand and they're like talking into their lapel mics. And I'm like, you see that little clip that you're holding there? That's supposed to clip on your clothing so that you don't have to hold the microphone.
No, they like to hold it so they can talk really soft. Like,
hey, I've got something for you. And this, you're going to watch this till the end. If a video says watch till the end or wait for the ending, I'm like, swipe, I'm not watching you. I don't care. I don't care if it told me the secret to life.
it does.
All right. Welcome back to the breakdown, everybody. Thanks for staying with us. We are charging ahead here. And if you're just tuning in, Brian is traveling back to his Paducah home this weekend. So he is not going to be on the program with us. And it's just myself and Misinformation herself. That's not right. Myself and it's just me and Misinformation, or me and Misinformation. Blah blah. I can't remember. I don't know what it is. But anyway, this is an article that a woman claims to be shown without bottoms while she is on a Ring camera. And so here's this video. It's not too terribly long, but we were talking about this during the break. If you heard us or not there, but this is this new kind of the people holding the lapel mic in their hand. I don't get it. I don't understand it. The whole reason you have the lapel mic clip is so you don't. But this is a PSA from this woman. Very grateful because I don't want to be shown without pants during any time that I'm caught out like this. So here's the video.
If you're someone who owns a Ring doorbell camera, you might want to pay attention. Heck, if you've ever stood in front of a Ring doorbell camera, you're going to want to pay attention. Last night, after returning home from the Bills game, I was on my front porch coming into my house, and I got an alert on my phone, obviously, that there's someone at the door. Spoiler alert, it was me. Because I was dressed pretty fabulously, if I do say so myself, I clicked on the footage to see what it looked like on the Ring doorbell camera. Oh my God, I almost passed out. I was standing there half naked. If you're thinking, why would you be out half naked? I was not. I was wearing pants. Not just any pants, these pants, which are very much so pants. Lots of pants happening right here, but on the Ring doorbell camera, these were completely see-through, and I looked like I was standing there completely nude. It even showed the wrinkles of my knees.
Not completely nude.
This is the footage. All I can say is thank God I was wearing this shirt, which came all the way down and covered my hoo-ha, because let me tell you, I just went out and tested it again, and it showed everything. I lifted up my shirt a little bit just to check, and ew. So, if you are ever standing in front of anyone's Ring camera wearing, I guess, polyester pants or clothes or anything polyester, I think these are polyester. Let me have a check. It says right here 100% polyester.
Now she's
machine washed cold, tumbled dry, do not bleach, do not dry clean, do not iron, and do not wear these in front of a Ring doorbell camera at night.
So evidently, this has something to do. What? Yeah, go ahead, Eric. I'll let you. Because your face, you have this annoyed look on your face.
Did she? Is she right? Is it transparent? Is it see through your clothes?
Evidently, according to infrared can't see through insulating clothing like jeans and sweaters. However, per Galaxis, infrared cameras can sometimes see through thinner, semi-transparent clothes made of materials like silk. Let's see. It says here that an email to the So an email to the Daily Dot, Ivanka said the issue isn't limited to Ring cameras. It's all cameras with infrared capabilities, all doorbell cameras and security cameras. I've come to the conclusion, she says, that my newfound knowledge of infrared capabilities paired with my education of different types of fabrics, yes, this experience has sparked quite a bit of research. It's polyester clothing that will no longer have a place in my life. The Ring doorbell stays safety first. So evidently, if you have polyester clothes or some kind of clothing like this, it will see through it like an X-ray, kind of like the whole X-ray thing at the airport.
This
So
is
you're
terrifying.
yeah. I mean, like
I can't tell you how many polyester silk shirts I have that I wear to work. Almost probably 3 out of 5 days a week, I wear a shirt that is a button down, some type of polyester material.
Oh wow.
Probably 3 out of 5 days.
How many people get up there like, oh wait, Erica's going to be walking by, and they're like checking their Ring camera footage. You're like, there she is again. There's a naked woman walking through the neighborhood.
I have access to every camera at every single property, and you can bet that I am logging in as soon as we are done here just to go through the video.
You're like, I'm going to see who's walking around the complex naked.
I mean, and I know I can access it because one time I fell and I deleted the footage.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I fell on camera, right? Walking into the front door of the clubhouse with like heels on and a bunch of shit in my hands. And I fell. And I was like, yeah, that's getting deleted.
That's funny. Like you're laying there, all this stuff sprawled out, and the first thing you think of is, I'm going to delete this footage.
That's getting deleted. Yes.
Did you download it for your own self, or did you just like, that's never?
Oh, yeah, I have it. I'll
I
share it
gotta
with
see
you. I'll share it with
gotta
you.
see that. Oh, that's hilarious. But yeah, so be careful, be mindful if you're out there jogging. Like you think about the people that jog in those
Yeah,
yoga
you're just
pants.
running. Well, she said at night though. So
Yeah, at night. Yeah.
probably not too many people jogging at night. But I mean, it's the wintertime. Every person in the state of Indiana that's female right now is wearing some kind of leggings and UGG boots, and you better just hope your sweatshirt's long enough, I guess, because that's the attire for the next 5 months
Yeah.
until the temperature warms up.
Yeah, because the majority of people you see walk, because there's folks that walk all the time, and I know that sometimes people walk or jog in the daytime, but those folks who are early risers who get up 5-6 o'clock in the morning and they're
Yeah.
running through their neighborhoods. How many people have Ring doorbell cameras or any kind of security cameras like that? And they're like, they can watch and they can see all these people or
Yeah.
false falling, whatever it is.
For the record, if I'm up at that time, I'm just gonna be looking at my Ring camera to see the crazy people that are out running or doing something at that time of the day. I'm just gonna watch. You're now my entertainment,
There you
so
go. While you're just sipping your coffee, like, oh, look at that.
Yep,
Oh,
yep.
like ball hit
Oh,
the man.
whoa, whoa.
Oh, maybe you should jog a little bit more before you wear those pants running past my house.
Oh, I would never say that.
You know, I actually, when I see overweight people out walking or running, I honestly, and I've never done this before, but I've always wanted to like cheer them on. Like, honk my horn and be like, yeah, you do it. But I don't want to sound like a sarcastic jerk. But I'm honestly, when I see somebody that's overweight outside walking or running, I think it's fantastic because I don't know how large they were before they started doing that. They could have lost a bunch of weight. I'm always kind of happy. I just want to cheer on my fellow human beings for at least making an effort to get better.
Just
I
smile
would
and
never
wave.
make fun of somebody for that. I would never make fun of somebody for being overweight.
Just
Or
smile and wave.
just what?
Listen, you can't blame the overweight person for wearing leggings. You blame the manufacturer for making them that size, okay?
My complaint is not with you, sir. My complaint is with the company that made it.
Yeah. If you don't want people wearing it, don't make it in that size.
Yeah, you know what? And I was actually joking with my wife. I know I say joking, but when I was growing up, I was always a plump guy. There's plenty of
Well,
ammo to make fun of me if it was because I was a Christian or I was fat or something. There was ammo, and I remember I always had to shop like at Kmart or Walmart because it was the only place that sold fat kid clothes. Like,
husky.
yeah, there's like all the other stores we went to. Not that we like went to a lot of expensive stores. I don't think my favorite store was Structure, but I never got anything from there till I was like 17 or 18
Yeah,
when I
no.
actually lost weight. But like shopping at Kmart or Walmart was the only place I could go. And fat kid clothes were not stylish. I did not look cool. I was not hip, and I was just it was frustrating. But they didn't make hefty kid or what did you call it, husky kid clothes?
Husky. That was the size. My son was a husky kid, and he was built like a fire hydrant until he started wrestling, and they don't have clothes like that in the normal store. You gotta go find that was the size. Small, medium, large, husky. Like, that was it.
Oh man. So here's one of those studies. Now, if you're watching, this is a study. This is not an opinion piece. So if you're
I
watching,
100% agree with this, by the way. Everyone just needs to know I'm 100% on board.
I figured you would. I saw this, and you're the first person I thought about. I was like, she's absolutely. The article here: people who are obsessed with celebrities may be less intelligent. Study, not survey. Study suggests there is a direct association between celebrity worship and poorer performance on cognitive tests, researchers say. So, people who are obsessed with Hollywood gossip and celebrity culture may be less intelligent. A Hungarian study published in BMC Psychology found a direct association between celebrity worship and poor performance on cognitive tests. The research was conducted using a survey of 1,763 adults who completed a series of tasks, including a 30-word vocabulary test and a digit symbol substitution test. So 30 words and digits. Can you say 30 words and these numbers? Please identify the number 10. The number 10. They also completed a celebrity attitude scale questionnaire created in order to establish how interested they were in famous people. The questionnaire required people to answer simply yes or no to a series of statements. These included, I often feel compelled to learn the personal habits of my favorite celebrity. I am obsessed with details of my favorite celebrity's life. And if I were lucky enough to meet my favorite celebrity and she asked me to do something illegal as a favor, I would probably do it. The researchers concluded that those who scored highest on the celebrity attitude scale also had lower performances in the two cognitive ability tests. However, they acknowledged they could not say whether an obsession with celebrity culture was either a cause or a consequence of having a lower cognitive scales. Now, that is an interesting piece, and I'm glad they included it. Are people who worship the celebrities, do they do it and then get dumber, or are they already lower in cognitive abilities? That's why they worship that stuff.
Oh, they're already lower.
So you think they're already unintelligent?
Already lower, because it doesn't make you dumber. You're just dumb. You're just
You're already
dumber. dumber to start with, right? Because otherwise you would never fall into that type of why is that enticing to you, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like, the fact that there are people that follow and spend time and discuss and buy things based on the opinion of a woman and her family who are famous because she had sex on a videotape and it leaked. Come on, you have to be lower IQ to start with in order to find that not it's one thing to be intrigued by it like, "Wow," right?
Yeah.
It's another thing to be like, "I'm all in on this. I I I follow these people, I respect these people, I take these people's advice on what to do in my life." Stop it right now. You're already lower IQ.
359 million followers, by the way,
Yeah,
that Kim Kardashian has on Instagram.
and you knew who I was talking about.
Oh
You
yeah,
see what I mean? Like, you have to be dumber in order to follow that person. Really.
right, right. Like what because I wonder about that stuff. It's like, people that are like Anglophiles that just follow and worship I say worship, but the people that are just obsessed with whatever the royal family does. It's
Right.
why are you so why does that lifestyle appeal to you so much? And especially people who are, like liberals or they're left leaning. They look at these celebrities and they idolize them and it's like, wait, shouldn't those celebrities be everything that you're socialistic or even
Everything that you're
Christian
against.
ideas? Yeah, everything you're against should be like there's something wrong. Like
Right.
if you have that much concern for people like that, and it
Right.
is crazy to me that somebody could be who could build a career off of a leaked sex tape. I mean,
Yeah.
that is incredible. I mean, think about that though. She's got to be a good businesswoman
Oh,
to
I
become a
don't
billionaire.
begrudge her that, right? I mean, famous father, famous mother, right? Like I don't begrudge her that, but it's the people that follow it that make it possible for her to be there. Listen, there's sometimes blowback, right? Like Rosie O'Donnell right now is all over TikTok complaining about Trump. Like you have no idea. She's abandoning Mika and Joe, and she's laying down the law on who's really liberal. And there's a lot of blowback. There's there's someone that has caught her attention that is literally calling her out for like, "Hey, you while you complain about this, sitting in your" what I looked up, right? Like your 105 million dollar property or whatever you're living in, right? Like
Yeah.
she's bringing receipts and calling her out, and it's making Rosie mad, and she's responding, and it's almost I mean, to me, it's comical, right? But I think it's time for that kind of thing. Like, at that point, let me just have the study because now everybody I encounter that's into all that, I'm just gonna be like, "Oh." It'll be like me running into an empath. I'll be like, "Oh, so you're dumber." Right? Like, like, it just wear it on your shirt. It'll help me out.
So hold on just a second. Go back to this whole Rosie O'Donnell thing. What's happening? Because I've not heard about this. What's happening with her?
So she's been putting out these videos on TikTok that talking about the literal downfall of the entire set of humanity on the planet because Trump got elected, right? She does these videos and she's all like, "Oh, so Joe and Mika went down to Mar-a-Lago and kissed the ring. I'll never watch that show again." And she goes on these long diatribes and then she's like, "That's it. End of statement." And then she starts talking about what's going to happen to the country and what is people are going to start dying and lesbians are going to get executed and firing lines and she's going off and people are responding to her with videos saying, "Hold on a second. I looked up the records and the house that you're sitting in lecturing us about how horrible things are and how you're not gonna be able to where, people are gonna be executed in firing lines while you sit in this mansion not having to worry about paying a single bill, and it's building up where normally she would be the one getting all the play, right? But
Yeah.
now it's more of the, like, "Shut the hell up." Really, like, seriously, shut up. right
I
now.
honestly there I saw somebody, another celebrity recently that had like that has that they're so detached from reality. People that get that are, I mean, I'm not talking about people who are, that make it like upper middle class. Obviously they still go shopping, Costco, etc., but I'm talking about like the folks who have not stepped foot in a grocery store in decades because of their riches or because of their money, and people that literally are sitting there like you're saying in $1 million homes, and they're complaining about how hard things are, and it's
Right,
like you have no clue. You have been so far removed from what it's like to be without or what it's like to actually struggle that you
right.
have no idea what you're talking about. And you're lecturing us on a billionaire becoming president. All the while your past presidents like the Clintons and the Obamas have become multimillionaires because they've capitalized on the fact that they are the first blackish president, or because they were former presidents, period, or first ladies, and they're collecting millions of dollars in speaking fees. So I
Right.
mean, that blows my mind when the hypocrisy steps in, where they're like, "Oh, you shouldn't be taking advantage. We should have socialism." And it's like, well, what about the $1 million speaking fee that the Clintons received just for going and giving a commencement address, or that the Obamas received just for showing up at a place? I mean, you can't tell me that is just so hypocritical to me, that first off you would have people pay these avowed socialists or avowed Marxists that kind of money, and then the avowed socialists and our Marxists who actually receive that kind of money. Shouldn't it be logically, shouldn't it be more logical that a socialist like Bernie Sanders, I don't know his finances, by the way, but somebody that claims to be a socialist, shouldn't they have a negative net worth? Like Rage
You would
Against
think so. Or
I mean,
a 0
yeah,
net worth, right?
yeah. I
Um,
mean, like I love Rage Against the Machine, but like Tom Morello is a millionaire, and
right.
it's like Zach DeLeon is a multimillionaire, and it's like, dude, like there's a disconnect there.
Yeah. How tone deaf do you have to be when it's 13 degrees north of the Mason-Dixon line at night right now, and we have Americans living in tents whose homes were decimated 3 months ago by Hurricane Helene, and you're bitching about who the president is sitting in your $1 million mansion.
Yeah.
How tone I mean, like, you should just basically close the doors and shutter yourself in there because nobody really cares about you. I
Tell
mean,
me
that's bad.
tell me you're tone deaf without telling me you're tone deaf.
Right.
That's the resonating thing about this. Just the complete disconnect between what's happening with average Americans, hardworking blue collar Americans, regardless of your political affiliation. That are angry about this. And just like you said, there are people that are in third. You look at somebody like George Soros, who has literally billions of dollars.
Right.
I think he's the richest person in the world. I know Bezos is. I can't remember, but the billions of dollars that they have, if they really believe in the causes that they support, why? I mean, they have the GDP of third world countries, or what do they call them now? Not third world because that's insulting, but these underdeveloped countries. They could literally go in and build infrastructure, build water wells, have hydroponics set up. They can go in and teach these cultures and these folks how to sustain themselves and how to have a living by working the land and working jobs and creating manufacturing and creating goods and becoming the distributor and the creator of goods, manufacturer of goods and services. They could literally go in there and do that with their billions of dollars. But instead, you have folks like George Soros who spend billions of dollars trying to get Democrat people elected in the United States. Like, seriously, if you're that rich, go take care of the rest of the country or
Right.
the rest of the world.
Yeah. I mean, because you just look pathetic. I think that when you cross the line to now it's not making me angry that she's doing that. I feel sorry for her. Like, and when you start to pity those people because you just realize they're not gonna turn the corner, you kinda start to walk away from even trying to respond, and you just start to pity people. I think that's sad. I think that's a really sad place for us to be in right now when you literally pity half of the country.
Right, right. And it is, and that's just an indictment on the culture as well.
Yeah.
Let me see here. Timmy says, "I say if people are willing to pay to hear a speech, take the money and run." I've got no problems with somebody who takes a large amount of money and makes money off of their life. Okay, if somebody were to offer me to pay me a certain amount of money to do a speech, I totally get. I would take it.
Right.
It's not that they're taking the money for it. It's the fact that they claim to be a socialist, or they claim, but they want to take your money and they want to redistribute your money, but their
To
money
them.
is there. Yeah, exactly. It is the transference of wealth from the population to the elite. That's
To them, right.
it's not for the good of mankind. Like there's an argument to be made for Christian socialism, and I say that not as not as socialism itself, but as the church redistributing wealth to the most needy among them and taking care of their city states and communities as a church, as a religious institution. I have no problem with that. That's how churches, and by the way, the next segment, the bad theology segment, we're going to talk a little bit about that. But churches should be doing that. You should not have churches that are paying hundreds of thousands of dollars a year in administrative costs or building maintenance fees, because you have huge buildings that house that do churches on Sundays and then Wednesdays perhaps, and then you have these churches that stay open that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars to run a year, right? And they're left open. They're paying the security. They're paying what do you call it? Utilities on that, the electricity, the water, the sanitation, to keep a building running, and it's not being used. That money can be better utilized in the community. So there's a big hole, gaping hole in evangelicalism and in Catholicism and any religion where that exists, where there's no Christian redistribution of wealth. And I know that that's a scary term for some people, but I believe that that's where we should be taking care of people, not out in the government. We shouldn't be forcing people to take that money and then redistributing it to other folks. It should be a voluntary system.
Yeah. Isn't one called charity and one called redistribution of wealth, right? Because in the one situation, you're donating the money and you know where it's going, and you decide as a group, which would be the church, on how the money that you donate gets used, right?
Yeah.
You know who it's going to. Which in the government, you give it to them, you have no idea that they're just taking it to redistribute it to whomever or however they choose.
Right. Okay.
It
I
should
can
be
see that. Yeah.
in the church, it should be charity.
You know what? I will take that suggestion, and I will agree that is part of that. So, all right, we're again live on the Crusade channel. You can check that out, crusadechannel.com, live radio the way it should be. Follow us over at aaronbarker.substack.com, and you can also listen to us, watch us on Facebook and Rumble. Don't forget to share the show, which we greatly appreciate. Here is this. I want to play this real quick. So there is, and we've talked about this before. There is this newfound desire to change the childhood movies and shows and programs into horror flicks. We've talked about Pooh, Blood and Honey. They're doing one for Bambi, which is incredible. They've done one for Mickey Mouse. They're doing that as well. I just saw this one the other day. This is a trailer for Popeye the Slayer Man.
What?
Yes, and it's everything.
Oh, yes, I wasn't ready.
Oh, it's incredible.
What the hell is all this stuff for?
It's the equipment I checked out for my documentary.
Oh, is this that pirate man thing you were going on about in class?
Sailor man. Tonight's the last night we can get inside.
They're, aware of the charming stories circulating about this place.
I don't believe in ghost stories.
He's not a ghost. The Sailor Man is real. He doesn't take kindly to visitors stopping at his doorstep.
If she's just doing some school project, then why won't she just pick the phone up?
Yeah, what should I do?
She said they're going to be at the old candy factory. Let's go down there.
Do you know why the factory closed down 20 years ago? There was a spinach contamination.
Monster.
Oh, yeah. What? Oh, yeah.
I should have warned folks that it's graphic, but that is I am what I am.
Oh my god! What?
Oh, it's incredible. It is absolutely incredible. I can't wait to see it
Oh,
because
I will not see that. You will have to you can tell me all about it. I will not see that.
oh man, I am stoked. I saw that the other day and I was like, this
I
is
am
awesome.
stoked, he
Oh
says.
yeah,
Oh
there's even
dear.
one. It's a little longer, but there's one about Mickey Mouse as well, and that is so funny because it's a little rat running around, and they're like, "We have a rat problem."
We have a rat problem.
Yeah, and it is so great. I don't think we have time to play that one, but it's a little bit longer of a trailer. But I saw saw the one for Mickey Mouse when I went to see Terrifier 3 in the theater, and I was watching it, and I was like, yeah, I'm gonna have
Yeah.
to see that movie because it's
No.
awesome. They're
Well,
just
you're gonna go see Popeye the Slayer Man then, and you're gonna let me know how it is.
heck yeah. And then when Bambi comes out, like the whole see there's the Bambi horror flick. Um I think that there's some fake trailers for it. I'm not sure, but it's called Bambi: The Reckoning.
Nice.
And then I think there's a Pinocchio one that's coming out as well.
I've heard about the Pinocchio one. I've heard about the Pinocchio one, and it's like, yeah, it's pretty intense.
Yeah, so what has happened is that all of these movies have entered the public domain. And
Yeah.
because they've entered the public domain, people are just picking them up and they're like, we're gonna ruin everyone's child.
Everything. Right,
Just
right.
gonna just crap on everything because I'm here for it. I can't wait for more of that stuff to happen. And then let's see if we have time for this one. I actually paused the track, so I don't know how much time we have left before this goes to a break. Let me see here. Okay, we have about a minute left, so I don't have time to play this other one here. But Erica, so next hour, just to give everybody kind of a heads up, we are doing our bad theology segment, and I think I have a pretty good idea because you mentioned there a moment ago about how these, the ultra rich and the elite have all of this money, but there are folks in South Carolina who have lost their homes, folks in Florida who have lost their homes, people in Tornado Alley who've lost their homes just this year. And all of this money is not being used for them. In bad theology, I want to present a couple of these prosperity preachers that preach how rich they are and how you should give to them because it is going to bring Jesus back. I have a clip of a man. This happened a couple years ago. I have a clip of a man saying that you have to give to help usher in the return of Jesus Christ. That's coming up next. This is why I think people are leaving churches in droves. All right, folks, this is hour one of the breakdown. So stay with us. There's more to come. Keep it locked in. We'll see you on the other side. I remembered to stop the track that time. Yay.
I do. I'm gonna run.
All right, good deal.
I'll be right back.
You got it. All right, folks, everybody that's joining us, thank you so much. Don't forget to like and share the show here. We really do appreciate that. Right now, we're on our hour, just our break. We're going to take a couple of minutes here, wet our whistles, and do other stuff we do on a break that you can't do on camera, which has been a kind of a thing. I saw this video. I don't know if it's real or not, but this dude was saying that he left his Zoom meeting and then came back to his Zoom meeting, or he left his Zoom meeting, but when he came back to his computer, he realized that he was still in the Zoom meeting. So he turned it on, and there was a video of his boss in the far corner with a woman who was not the boss's wife putting peanut butter on his toes and then removing it orally. So I'm not, that's not going to happen here. I promise I will always make sure my camera and my mic are muted when I walk away, because I don't want you all seeing peanut butter smeared on my toes. That'll make anybody lose their appetite. But when we get back, there's a couple of things we're talking about. We're going to do our bad theology segment. I was just talking about there before the break. A paranormal thingy or two. Popeye the Slayer, man. If you haven't seen the preview, just go look for these previews. There's the Bambi one, Bambi the Reckoning. You've also got Mickey Mouse and the movie they're making about that. If you haven't seen Pooh, Blood and Honey, it is a horrible movie. It is not good at all. I mean, seriously, like there's no there's no way that I would be like, I'm going to watch that movie again. Like the Terrifier movies or Halloween or House of a Thousand Corpses or George Romero's Night of the Living Dead or the Dead Alive. Any of those movies that you would rewatch in a heartbeat. This is not one of those movies that I would turn on and watch again. It was good for what I did, what I watched it for. We got some other things I want to get into. RFK talking about Fauci and some other news there. Bad theology, which is probably going to take a minute. Why you maybe should hold off on putting up Christmas lights. Not sure about that one. Don't forget also, if you missed last week's show, Scotty Roberts was a guest on last week's show. If you head on over to rumble.com and search for The Breakdown with Aaron Barker, sub there if you haven't already, because you'll get alerts that the show is going live. But we had him on the program last week, and it was a lot of fun. I wish we had more time to talk to him, because he has so many great things to say and so many great comments to make. We're just really happy. We just honestly just ran out of time last week, and so many things I wanted to ask him about. But he talked about the jinn, which is where we get the word genie, which is considered by some to be an Islamic demon or a demonic entity within that teaching. So it's fascinating to hear that. And let's see what else do we do here. This is just several types of shows over there. You can follow the archive and see that there. You can also sub over at aaronbarker.substack.com. Follow me on TikTok at BreakDRadio, and check us out on Facebook as well. All right, I'll be right back, so stay with us. Oh, there it is right there. I'll be right back. See, camera off, and I'm muted. Welcome back to the breakdown, everybody. Thanks for staying with us. Interesting conversation happening over in the chat. Space Hippie is saying that she works at a well-known theme park. Is saying that they have a lost and found for kids and a separate one for personal items. So do you just have like a big collective area or box where you toss like lost children in? You're like, there, here, pick out your kid. What do they look like? They got to find the kid for you. Yeah, you were away from the camera, Erica. So the peanut butter and jelly comments that are happening over there, if you see that,
Yeah.
there was a story. I didn't know the validity of it, but I thought it was kind of funny. This guy was saying that he left his Zoom meeting. He thought he did, but when he came back to his computer, he realized that the camera was still on. So he went back into the Zoom meeting to disconnect and saw that his boss still had his camera on, and you could see his boss in the far corner of the room, and a female who was not his wife smearing peanut butter on his toes and removing it orally. And I was making sure, I was telling the audience, I was reassuring them, you will never have that problem here, ever.
No.
I like
No, that won't happen.
So
By the way, they when you go on a cruise, and it's not just a theme park cruise, like it's not just a Disney cruise, but if you go on a cruise, at least the one I went on, and I've only been on one because I don't like boats, but they give your kids air tags. They air tag your kids, and then when you're in your room, when you turn on the map of the ship that they have, you
Yeah.
could see your kids where they are on the ship.
No joke.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Royal Caribbean. That's the
Um,
cruise line I was on.
We've been on, what was it? We've been on Norwegian and Celebrity, and our kids were a little older, so they weren't younger, but that's a great idea. That's a
Yeah.
fantastic idea.
They give
And
them little tags and, like, it has what do you call it? Like a lanyard,
yeah,
right? And they wear it around their neck, and it gets them in to wherever they wanna go too. Like, if they're getting food or if they're doing something, they have their little card that has their thing, and then it has a tag. So you can see them, and you can see what they spend too. You could tell if they're in the arcade. You could see where they are and what they're doing.
that's actually that's a great idea. See, technology like that I'm cool with because it's a privatized situation. You're in a local area where things can happen. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's a great idea. I didn't know that I wonder if they offer that on the two cruises we went on were Norwegian and Celebrity. I like Norwegian a lot better than Celebrity. The food was better, the boat was nicer, the trip was great. The destinations were still awesome, regardless. We didn't do any excursions, but the Norwegian ship was just, it was awesome, and it also had Guy Harvey they had commissioned him to paint the sides of these cruise ships. So you had this massive mural that he had hand painted on the side of the ship. Is absolutely incredible, which just launched a love for Guy Harvey. That guy's incredible. And his shows were always playing in the rooms, which is a lot of fun.
Cool.
Yeah. But okay, let's get into this here. What we got? I wonder if we can. Let's just jump into. Let's do this here first. This I saw this the other day. And I'm super stoked, by the way, if you all have not been able to pick up on it, super stoked that RFK is going to be in the administration, the Trump administration. So glad he's going to be over the health of the nation. There was a video of him on, I think it was Thanksgiving. It was a video of him deep frying a turkey in tallow oil.
Oh, I
Which was
saw
really
that.
cool. Yeah, it looked really. I don't know. Just going to be ignorant here. I don't know what tallow oil is. I don't know how it is better than the others, but it looks like, I just did a quick Google search. It looks like it's beef tallow, so it's made from animals and not made from vegetables.
Mhm.
So it's rendered from beef or mutton, and it is primarily made up of triglycerides. Blah blah blah. So I'm gonna have to look into that. But anyway, this is him talking about a situation with Anthony Fauci, and it is really unsettling. And I know that we can get cynical when it comes to this stuff, and we can say, "Oh, we know the government's doing that," but quite honestly, I just don't understand how this stuff continues to go on. And in I'll just go ahead and play the video. Here we go.
Tony Fauci made sure and none of those kids had guardians, which is illegal. And then he hid what he was doing from the boards. He took foster homes in 6 states and he turned them over to the pharmaceutical industry. There's videos of these children, an old BBC documentary that will make you cry. I promise you can look at these without weeping. One of these kids, a 12-year-old who's trying to protect the 8 years old, and he has a tube in his stomach. And Celia Farber, who's this amazing researcher who worked on this chapter for me and did a lot of the original research on it. She actually went up to Hawthorne, New York, to the Gates of Heaven Cemetery. She found the cemetery where Fauci was disposing of the corpses of these children who died in his illegal experiments. She found an open pit. It was actually covered by an astroturf carpet. She opened the astroturf carpet and she saw hundreds and hundreds of tiny little coffins stacked haphazardly upon each other, because these are children who have no parents and nobody was there to protect them.
So, by the way, we've got BRY 2020. I wonder if that's the preacher man under a different name or not. No, it's not. Looks like he's from the Crusade Channel. So he does say that there's information on that at thecrusadechannel.com, Free Farm Friday. So if you look that up, you can get it from there. I think I know who that is from the Crusade Channel. If it is who I'm thinking it is, welcome, brother. It's good to see you over here watching the show. Now, what was Anthony Fauci talking about there? In his book, The Real Anthony Fauci, which I had up until it burned up. The house burned up. But anyway, I just dropped that in every now and then. It says that R.F. Kennedy Jr. describes how journalist Liam Sheff chronicled Fauci's secretive experiments on hundreds of HIV-positive foster children at Incarnation Children's Center in New York City and numerous sister facilities in New York and 6 other states between 1988 and 2002. He describes in detail how Fauci's NIAID, the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, and his big pharma partners turned Black and Hispanic foster kids into lab rats, subjecting them to torture and abuse in a grim parade of unsupervised drug and vaccine studies. The real Anthony Fauci was a greedy egomaniac hell-bent on creating an image of himself as the savior of the world during the AIDS crisis while generating billions in profits for his pharmaceutical industry partners. The partners would then share some of the loot with Fauci and others in various ways, including sharing in patent rights, the revolving door of very highly paid jobs for former government bureaucrats, paying multi-million-dollar user fees to the NIAID distributing shares of stock, etc. The pharmaceutical industry re-enumerated Incarnation Children's Center for supplying children for the tests, writes Kennedy. The tests involved giving children experimental drugs that were toxic. They're known to cause genetic mutation, organ failure, bone marrow death, bodily deformations, brain damage, and fatal skin disorders. Torture is not too strong a word to describe what happened to these children. If the children refuse the drug, says Kennedy, they're held down and forced fed. If the children continue to resist, they're taken to Columbia Presbyterian Hospital, where a surgeon puts a plastic tube through their abdominal wall into their stomachs. From then on, the drugs are injected directly into their stomachs. This wasn't science fiction or a sick horror movie, says Kennedy, but Fauci funded AIDS research. Many of these children died as a result of the research. Investigative journalist Vera Sharav, who spent years investigating all of this, told Kennedy that Fauci just brushed all those dead babies under the rug. They were collateral damage in his career ambitions. She said that at least 80 children died from Fauci's drug torture chamber in the Manhattan foster home alone. He said, you probably never heard of this, but the BBC produced a documentary of the savage barbarity of Dr. Fauci's science projects in 2004 entitled Guinea Pig Kids. A BBC investigative journalist said the documentary that I found the mass graves at the Gate of Heaven Cemetery in Hawthorne, New York. I couldn't believe my eyes. It was a very large pit with astroturf thrown over it. Under it, one could see dozens of plain wooden coffins. There may have been 100 of them. So this is the legacy of thank you for telling me that, Timothy. You just actually reminded me. The Real Anthony Fauci is an audiobook. I can probably look that up on the Libby app, which I have for the library, and listen to it. It is 2 inches thick. of documentation just against Fauci and his escapades, and in this case, destructive behavior towards children. You talk about Joseph Mengele and what they did to the Jews during the Holocaust, how they would inject their eyeballs to see if they could change color, or they performed lobotomies on them, or they tried to perform amputations and reattachments of body parts, etc. See how long they could live after they were poisoned or shot or injected with medications. All of that. Um, the the very fact that this continues and nobody says anything about this. It is, and when I say nobody, back in I had an article from NBC about this,
How do you
but
keep
they said
people quiet, right? Like, he can't do this
crazy.
alone. He can't do it
Exactly.
alone, so you have to have all these other people involved. I don't understand how that all just gets kept quiet. People A lot of people would have to know. Well, now everybody knows.
Um, they well the you hear people all the time talking about, like, Trump was elected president, so LGBTQ people are now in danger. Children are going to lose their health care. People are going to lose their social security. Healthcare is going to be removed, etc. And then you
Where?
look at this and you're like, wait just a second. That is all speculative garbage. Like, you have
Right.
no proof or evidence to show that Donald Trump is going to cause any of that. They're like, "Oh, they're gonna separate families," which, I understand there's an issue about that. We can talk about that at another time. But there is no comparison to deporting a family together, or a family being separated because one of them may have broken the law, and taking foster children and forcibly injecting them with poisons that are going to debilitate them, ultimately kill them. But until it kills them, it's going to torture them, and then use that as some type of justification for stopping or trying to stave off the AIDS epidemic. There's no justification for this whatsoever. And
No.
anybody who knew about this and looked the other way, you're just as guilty.
Well, yeah, and, to be sure, your greater judgment is still to come. It is gonna be worse than anything anybody in this country can do to you, but you still should be held accountable. I eh I mean, he experimented on people, animals. And it's all out there. I mean, keep in mind, if you're not outraged by it, are you, not at least outraged by the fact that you paid for it?
Yeah.
'Cause I mean, these are funded, granted experiments, research, quote, unquote, that he's doing that's publicly funded. He doesn't have the cash. He didn't fund this research himself. It's not even George Soros funded. It's taxpayer funded, you idiots.
Taxpayer funded, yeah. Absolutely. And just because for some reason animal cruelty is worse for people than child cruelty, just remember that Fauci took $400,000 to taxpayer funded money, and took beagle puppies, locked their heads into cages, and let them be eaten to death by flies.
Mhm. And
All right.
recorded it. And you can watch it.
Yeah.
You can find it. Like, you know, I can't watch footage of the stuff like this. Like, I
It,
really can't. When he says you can't watch it without weeping, I can't even watch it. I mean, I have a hard time watching John Wick just because it hurts. Like, I
oh,
get
we,
I get physically hurt from the time the puppy dies until the 4th, 5th movie's over. I'm in pain, right? Like,
oh,
it hurts. I feel that fight, and I don't like feeling a fight that lasts 25 straight minutes. So,
oh, man.
I don't know how people can watch this. I don't
Uh,
know how they can watch it.
are you talking about John Wick, or are you talking about the videos for these
I'm talking about the videos for this as
okay.
somebody who just has a hard time, like, watching people beat the crap out of each other for 20 straight minutes.
Oh, man.
Even though it's theatrical, like, I can't even imagine watching this.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I see your connection now. I see so it's difficult for you to watch fake stuff,
Fake
let alone
fights that
watch
last that
real
long,
stuff. Yeah,
right? Like, I can't even imagine having to watch a child be tortured. I don't know
yeah.
how. I don't know how you could. I believe it. I'll just believe it. I'll just believe that there's video of it and it's horrific. And the people, like, if he wants to say, I mean, this is one of those cases where I'm like, "You go, RFK. You be the man," because
Yeah.
I, as the woman, do not want to watch that, and I will believe you when you say that it makes you weep.
Yes, and I'm with you because it is it is so disturbing to think that this stuff is actually happening. I have to at some point say, all right, I trust that man to say what is in that video, and I'm not going to watch it.
Mm-mm.
And I'm going to trust that what he is presenting as fact is fact, because I don't care if it's a 30-second clip, if it's a 3-second clip, it exists, because that 3-second clip had to come from a larger clip. But 3 seconds of anything that caused harm to a child like that is enough for us to go ahead and institute capital punishment. I'm fine with that,
Right.
because there's no reason to treat children that way. And which is another thing, I where's the outrage when you rewind that to where there is a partial birth abortion, and you see the remnants of a child after such barbaric procedures, and you can't call that torture simply because the location of the child was inside the mother at the time and she hadn't made the decision that the child's going to live. I think those two things to me, just, I mean, if it's in the womb or outside the womb, anything that hurts a child purposely, that to me is barbaric, and ultimately should be considered for the death penalty.
Yeah. And listen, I'll throw in, I don't think I don't want to watch someone be beheaded in an out of an act, in an act of terror. I don't want to watch that either. I've never watched that. I know there are videos of that out there. I'm
Yeah,
not I'm not going to do that, right? I know it's real. I know it happened. I don't need to put that image in my head.
I actually, Michael Savage, and I don't agree with everything Michael Savage says, but the guy is a juggernaut when it comes to that stuff. Back 20 years ago, I think what it was, he started putting the videos up on his website of people being beheaded. And back then it was like really, really bad, like, like 420 or 780 or whatever it was. And the resolution was horrible, but it was enough for you to be able to see. I went and I watched one of those, and I almost got sick. And I was like, you know what? I don't have to see that stuff. I don't have
I'm
to see
okay
that.
with not. I believe it. I
Yeah.
believe it. I don't have to. I don't. I tend things are. They leave a mark in my head. Some things I just know better than to put there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, so we are. You know what? I might just skip this break coming up, because we're just rolling along. Right? Do you need a break? Or you good, Eric? If we just roll right through this
No,
break?
I'm good. I'm
Okay,
good. That last one was crucial, but I'm good.
good deal. Uh, so let's go ahead. I'll just go ahead and do that, because I know it's going to be popping here soon. So there's that. And by the way, the people that will be voting on the RFK Jr.'s nomination for the Health and Human Services Secretary have received a total of $6.7 million from Big Pharma. The U.S. Senate Finance Committee members who will vote first on RFK Jr.'s nomination for HHS Secretary individually have accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in contributions from the pharmaceutical industry. This is reported by The Federalist. I'm getting it from The Defender, which is the childrenselfdefense.org's news source that was started by RFK Jr. It says here the Republicans overall have brought in $5 million from the pharmaceutical industry across 13 members, while Democrats have raised more than $1.7 million across 9, according to the Federalist. Earlier this month, President-elect Donald Trump, founder of the Children's, let's see. Oh, they forgot to put, okay, nominated Kennedy, founder of the Children's Self Defense, to lead HHS, the Senate Finance Committee, which will attain a Republican majority. And the new Trump administration will hold confirmation hearings for Kennedy in January. So this is a Republican run committee. a Republican majority committee, and the Republican majority committee has received nearly $5 million across the 13 Republican members, and they're the ones in charge of putting of confirming the nomination of someone who's about to say, "Y'all are done. Your money it dries up after I'm in there." Because all of this, hopefully, this will be resolved by Kennedy, but hopefully they will also be intelligent and put him in charge so that this relationship that exists between the pharmaceutical companies and our government is completely destroyed. I honestly, I think that there should have been somewhere else. I appreciate what RFK Jr. is going to do with the health, but I think there could have been somewhere else where his ability to root out corruption, his knowledge of the deep state, his knowledge of who receives what and where would be a little better utilized. I'm happy he's in there, but I just want to see the corruption exposed, and I want to see these scumbags brought down.
Where would you have put him?
I don't know. I mean, like, would the attorney general have been someplace where he could have been, like what is the and to show my ignorance a little bit? What part of the government what part of the cabinet could he be in charge of, where he is the guy that says, "All right, we're in all of these agencies and departments, we're going to expose the corruption and the relationship that exists between big pharma, big ag, and the private sector, and the millions of dollars donated and given in lobbying fees and costs to the different cabinet members and legislators."
Well, it would be overkill because now you have Doge. So they're responsible for that. So
Okay.
he's open to then be able to do what he needs to do because you would think that they'll be fighting that fight. Like they should be fighting that fight for the 13 million or the 5 million that just got spread across the 13 members, right? You would think that that kind of corruption and stuff is going to get called out by Musk and that the whole Doge situation. I don't know. Attorney General would have been good because that would have given him access to a lot more than just the health and human services arena as far
Yeah.
as calling out corruption, but that's where his expertise is. Really, that's where he's dug in the most.
On
I
the
mean,
corruption.
yeah, in the
Yeah.
is in the health and human services because that's where he was most affected by what happened to him, and that's a huge driver. That's a huge motivation to fight against what needs to be done there.
Right. I am elated that he is considered and being brought into the administration this way. I pray for his confirmation to be successful, and then I hope that we can see working across political aisles like this is extremely important for the health of the country going forward and the continuation of freedom in the nation. Very happy to hear about that. So, all right, here. So let's get bad. Let's jump in here to bad theology. So since we started using Rumble Studio, by the way, I don't have the theme song to this like I used to. I was thinking about that on the break. I was like, man, I wonder if I have
You
time
should
to get that.
re-record it.
Yeah, I need to. And I'm not just throwing this out there, but like all of those files. This is crazy because I had files saved on my Mac, files saved on a jump drive, and files saved on an external 4 terabyte hard drive. Okay. Because if you don't have it saved in at least 3 places, you don't have it saved. All of those. What in the world? I muted you, I thought. No, mute. Hold on now. There we go. I'll just turn it down real quick. So all of those were on my desk at the fire. So like they weren't separated. I've learned from it. I have stuff saved at my dad's on his computer now. I have stuff uploaded online, and I have stuff here, very little stuff on my hard drive here on my actual computer. But all of that music, all of the original tracks were on that computer. So I would have to completely start from scratch, which I guess I'm going to have to. But anyway, here we go. This is Bad Theology. And here is brother Jesse Duplantis. You like that? Did you like that?
Yeah, that was good.
This is Jesse Duplantis, and he is on. If you've ever watched Quotey Fingers Christian television, they do these praise-a-thons where their annual or semi-annual areas or fundraisers where they try to get you to give them money because they they claim that it's helping them spread the gospel, but it's
On
really wrong.
TV, right? This is on
TV,
T okay.
TV, yes. This is where you get the if you give $1 million, you'll be healed. Well, here is Jesse Duplantis talking on one of these one of the
Jesus hadn't come is because people are not giving the way God told them to give. You see what I'm saying? I mean, when you understand it, you can speed up the time. I was on television. He said, I heard you was a millionaire. I said, that's not right. That's not true. He said, yes, it is. I said, no, it's not. Multi. Now add that to it, you'll be all right. Oh, he couldn't handle that. He liked to have had a fit. I said, you mess with me, I'll buy this station and I'll fire you.
Yeah.
Oh, he didn't like that, did he? That was a little fleshy, but it felt good. Just did. And I really believe this. If people would call this number and put this victory all over the world on every available voice, every available outlet, the Father, he would say, Jesus, go get him. Because you see, he wants to see us as much as we want to see him. You see what I'm saying? And so what has hindered all these things is because people are not doing in the financial realm, because we live in an economic world, what God's called them to do.
So there's that. So people that want to see the return of Jesus, the reason you're not, Jesse Duplantis claims, is because you're not giving enough. You want to see Jesus come back, give to this ministry. Wouldn't that kind of defeat the purpose? Why am I going to give you all of this money for Jesus to come back? I guess it does, because if you give all this money for Jesus to come back, he comes back, you don't need your money anymore.
No.
That's exactly my response to that. Only there's unfortunately some words I can't say on this radio show that go along with that.
I'm trying to be selective with my vocabulary here because I have more than 30 words, though. How can we please add people that buy into this kind of stuff as those who are also less intelligent? Can we
great point. Yes.
I think if you are if this is where your spiritual advisement is coming from, we need to just add you to those who are less you just automatically have a lower IQ starting off, and I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're the ones who are worshiping the celebrities, worshiping these folks, and I
Yeah.
don't
Isn't that what he is? I mean, that's a celebrity right there. That's not a man of God.
No, and I've had this problem because my family has been personally impacted. I have seen people in my family walk away from the faith because of lying charlatans like this that have presented a false gospel, and a false prosperity gospel is what I call it, but it is a false gospel of give and be rich, or name it and claim it, blab it and grab it, et cetera, et cetera. I've seen this happen. I've seen it destroy and make shipwreck of people's faith because they give money and they claim things in faith, yet people all around them are dying of cancer, dying of polio, and not polio. What was it that gentleman had? I can't remember what it was, but it may have been years ago. May have had polio, but he ended up dying because of complications from that later on in his life. But there were people dying of heart attacks and cancer, all of those things. And I've seen this. And the most ironic thing is I've seen this happen in churches that claim to operate, quoting fingers, because the terminology they use is operating in faith, or believe in this thing, or believing in God, claiming it by your words, or speaking this into existence. But in their congregations, these people are literally dying left and right. I watched it. And then I watched families leave churches and be hurt and devastated over the lies that were told to them from these false preachers. And it is deadly because there's just enough of the gospel in there for people to get hooked. They teach Jesus, they teach repentance, they talk about it. They don't teach it, but they talk about it. And there's just enough to draw somebody in, but then they just start putting in little drops of arsenic, little drops of poison, and it draws folks away. And that's the deadly aspect of these quotey fingers gospel preachers.
Okay, I mean, they're all disgusting. The other guy over there that's laughing at him calling himself a multi-millionaire and feeling good about getting that jab in, like, what kind of hypocrisy are we okay with here? They're just laughing at you. They're just standing there on camera laughing at you and telling you that the reason that you're not being saved, or that you're not having the second coming of Jesus Christ is because you're not giving them enough money.
Right. And it's all about them because here's now the gentleman you were talking about is a guy by the name of Kenneth Copeland, notorious. So as soon as you see his face again, you're going to realize you're going to recognize it. Years ago, he was on. I can't remember. It's one of these expose shows on like ABC or CBS, and they were confronting him about the amount of jets that he had. He had like 2 or 3 jets, and he always talks about it. But here is a clip of him. It is disgusting, and it infuriates me. But here is him talking about his quote, he figures prosperity.
Mylon called me. He said, "How many Breitlings do you have?" And I said, "I don't know, 36, I think. I haven't counted them lately. And I have, in my closet, I have winders, and there's a lot of them in there." And he said, "I'm going to give you number 37. I said, "Great, Mylon." Now, he's believing God for his healing. He said, "I'm giving you my Bentley, and it has a Breitling clock." Whoa, a Bentley with a...
So that
Mylon called me.
That is him bragging. Now, Breitling watches, I didn't know this, but Breitling watches thousands of dollars each, and he's got 37 of them. 37, I think. 36.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
I calling him saying, "Well, I'm going to give you number 37 because I'm giving you a Bentley." How does that further the gospel?
How does that further the person giving him the Bentley with the Breitling clock in it now thinks he's closer to Jesus?
I think now he believes that he is the whole theology behind this is if you sow a seed into the ministry believing in faith, not only will you have abundance reaped back or given back to you, but you will also reap health, you will reap wealth, you will reap popularity, you will reap land and houses and cars and all of this material blessings that they claim that you will receive by that. They use a lot of Old Testament passages out of Scripture, which when you read the Old Testament, land and goats and cattle and women and possessions usually meant that there was prosperity for that person, that they were blessed of God because of somebody like Abraham and Lot, who had so much abundance given to them by God that they couldn't even exist in the same place. They had to go to separate places. That's why Lot went to Sodom and Gomorrah and Abraham went the other direction. So they use those passages and they take those out of context by saying, if you sow into the man of God's ministry, God will give back to you. You will reap in abundance. And then there are some the passages in the New Testament that will lead people to believe that as well. And rather than looking at those in a proper hermeneutic or understanding those in the context, they take those out of context and say, well, this means you're going to be rich.
I don't understand how that interpretation of it is any different than like somebody going to a medium who tells you, you have to give me money to tell you your future, or in order for you to get this, I'll tell you, but you have to do these things, or, you got to carry these stones and you have to pay for it. Like how is that any different than like manifestation, which is bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah, it is, and it's the law of attraction. You speak it into the universe, and you give good karma, and etc. It's all about that, because along with the money, you give the money, you have to believe that God's going to bless you. You have to be completely obedient, which is a works-based righteousness. You have to do everything that God commands in His law in order to be blessed, because that's also passages in the Old Testament that claim that suffering is caused by people who don't follow God's law.
Here, I'll give you an example. Right? Like, and this just happened last Wednesday on my way home from the office, to which I knowingly was like, yep, I got 4 days off. I don't have anything that is super pressing. I don't even have to cook. I'm super excited. Stopped at this red light and this guy hits me. Right.
Oh, whoa.
And I was like, man, I had just gotten gas. I was like, are you kidding me right now? Right. And now I had a choice. Right. I had a choice. I got out of the car, I walk around, I put my hazards on, I look at the car, I'm like, I put my cell phone on, I'm looking at it because it's dark. I'm like, there's really nothing wrong. And in my head, I was like, there could be damage underneath the plastic, but it didn't even crack the plastic bumper that's over the frame. This kid looks half my age and panicked,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Like, he's freaking out, and I'm like, "You know what, buddy?" I'm like, "It looks fine." I'm like, "Have a great Thanksgiving. Just take a deep breath." I said, Nobody's hurt. Are you okay? I think are you alright? Just pay attention. Try not to hurt anybody. Have a great Thanksgiving." Right?
Cool.
Okay. Fast forward to yesterday morning, I'm at home. I get woken up by somebody who normally would not have woken me up,
Yeah.
right? And I would have normally ignored. I get on my laptop to check my email, which I also normally would not do on a day that I have off, especially when I haven't even had coffee yet. I find that a very valuable FedEx is being delivered to the office between 9:30 and 11:30, and if I leave my house in 5 minutes, I can maybe make it. I know it has to be signed for, and I can't afford for it to go back. I haul ass to the office in my pajamas and a hoodie, and the FedEx driver is in the parking lot, and had I not been there, she would have left, and I got the package.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
is that because I let that kid go home?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so.
But the person who believes in that type of this bullshit theology where you have to put certain things out there would say, "Well, that happened because I was so nice to that kid the other day."
Yeah.
What goes around comes around, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know.
Karma and all that. Yeah. Yeah, that's I think your attitude over handling. I mean, like you could look at like the butterfly effect. If you would have stayed there for a police report or got the guy's information, maybe you had been dealing with something else, you would have missed that email, something like that. But yeah, I don't necessarily think that everything you do has an equal and opposite reaction in the universe where, hey, you did something good for this guy, now you do something bad. Because think about, had you done something good for this guy, I'm sure there are other bad things that have happened or other things that you preferred not to have happened. I don't know though. I mean, but just
Well,
it
no,
just
but
shows that they were.
I think it makes it worse that these preachers put God into it. Like, the
Yeah.
fear of God, right? I mean, that's a real thing. That's not me just joking around being like, "God, I wonder if I met the FedEx driver because I was nice to that kid the other day."
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's a whole new thing of like, "Holy crap, if I don't do this, I'm out of favor with God." That's a whole different ballgame.
Right.
That's a
Right.
whole different level of abuse, and if you believe that, I think you're just as dumb as those people that follow celebrities like they're
That is a great connection with the
prophets.
celebrity thing, but it's also a great connection there thinking that the because you're adding the element of it's a fear. It's more than just FOMO. It's
Yeah.
more, it's like it's elevated to a fear of missing out. It's like a FOMOG, a fear of missing out on God. Because if I don't like you think about the people that believe that everything happens is and I'm one of those folks. I believe that there's nothing that happens by chance. But you think about the person who's sitting there and they're like, oh, they turn on their TV and it happens to be on Jesse Duplantis or on Kenneth Copeland. And that moment they're saying, you're sick, you're depressed. If you give $150, God's going to bring you healing to your life and prosperity. And you're like, wait a second. Now, nothing happens by chance. I turned on the television. This happens to be the program that I'm watching. That's what they're asking for. This is God speaking through that person. And they make those leaps, those connections because they don't realize that if you would have turned on the TV and it would have been somebody like a music video or a movie telling you to kill your family, like, you know what, I wouldn't go unalive my family because of that. That's not speaking to me. Why is it only good things that people hear that they demand that be applied to their life? But back to what you were saying, that people add to the mix, you're missing out on God's blessings for your life. You're suffering in your job, you're not getting the finances you need, your relationships are suffering, your marriage is suffering, your kids are outside of God's will. And it's all because you're not consistently giving to God and consistently giving to the church or consistently giving to this ministry. And
Right.
people think, well, maybe that, no, it's not. Does God love a cheerful giver? The scriptures say that. The New Testament says that. Does God love people giving without compulsion? That the Bible says that too, is in the New Testament. So if
Yeah, but not
there's,
everybody has money. So
yeah,
giving like that and giving without like those give it doesn't have to mean money.
and I believe that this is the amount, I think this is one of the reasons that people leave churches because this type of preaching is prevalent. And people do preach about the blessings of God, and even Baptist churches preach about prosperity and favor. They use these key points that the prosperity gospel uses. It creeps into these other areas, and I think this is why people leave, because they look at my personal, because this is anecdotal, but I'll look at this personally. I look at those videos of these folks talking about being multimillionaires. I see these videos bragging about having Bentleys and Breitlings and thousands of square foot houses and jets and all of this quoted fingers favor. I look at that and I think, how dare you stand there in a $10,000 suit and tell a poor grandmother or a poor mother or a poor father that they have to give you more money so that God blesses them. You have all of the money in this situation. You have all of the leverage and the power. Why are you not giving back to the communities? Because and when it comes to this situation, I understand that a person can work hard in America, they can lift themselves up by the bootstraps. But when does the extravagance become too much? When does the extravagance become beyond what you can consider a Christian amount of possessions or homes to have? Or I guess just material possessions to have. Because if you are living in this type of home and other people are suffering, their children around the world dying of AIDS and dying of starvation and malaria, and there are people within our own country that are homeless and children that are dying from starvation in our own country, but you're living high on the hog. At what point does that now become a bastardization of the teaching of the gospel and you become responsible for what you're not doing?
At all points. I mean, there's not like at what point does it become it always was, right? And maybe I mean, Catholic priests take a vow of poverty. So, there was always some element of part of what we're giving to the church is supporting the priest, right? Because they don't actually make any money really. But they're given the home, right? And they were we pay for the church, we pay for the house, we pay for, whatever. So it's not like you're destitute. But they take a vow of poverty. So, right, they're limited like somebody on disability. You can only make a certain amount of money before you lose your tax benefits.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to make fun of it. I'm just saying, like, there, I don't know, like, even a Catholic priest that drives around, you can get gifted things, right? Like,
Yeah.
let's say somebody gives you a car, then you have a car, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily that your priest went out and bought a Cadillac. Somebody gave him one, right?
Right.
Somebody gave him a Caprice Classic to drive around in or whatever, right? But, I guess it doesn't work the same way. Like I've never been to a church where you have that person talking to you about faith or spirituality.
Yeah, and when my dad actually was one of those guys that was gifted a 1980. Now this was back in the early 90s, but my dad was gifted a 1981 Cadillac Eldorado. Hardtop, it wasn't a convertible, it was a 1981 Cadillac Eldorado. Now when he was gifted this, the paint had started to wear off. It did not look like a brand new Cadillac. It was a used Cadillac. It was like 10 years old, 10, 12 years old, something like that. But this guy heard him talking one day. My dad's always loved Cadillacs. And this guy was like, look, I've got this Cadillac. He gave him a Cadillac. He didn't buy that. It was a gift to my dad. I understand gifts. If somebody wanted to give me a Bentley, you better believe I would take that Bentley. But then I would sell the Bentley.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
would
would
sell
much
the
rather
Bentley.
have the cash than the car. I can
Right. Or
find it.
sell the Bentley, buy a Ford, and then give the rest away, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, there's things and Space Hippie is absolutely correct. Like, the Vatican, the Catholic Church itself is one of the richest organizations on the planet, and they also own more land than the federal government, I believe,
Yeah.
in this country and around the world. And I don't know. And at one point I'd have to go back and look, but at one point they called the money home. The Catholic Church, the Vatican called the cash home, and now actually holds the bulk of equity, liquid equity, in the Vatican Bank. I
Oh,
can't remember when that happened. That happened right before COVID, maybe even during COVID that the Vatican called the cash home. Um, which they can do at any time they choose. Uh, yeah, it's disgusting. Sorry.
No,
Sorry.
that's okay. Like the Vatican, I just looked up that said the Vatican's net worth is difficult to estimate because its finances are largely secret. However, in 2019, the assets were roughly 4 billion or 4.7 billion US dollars. Now,
And
think
we've
about this though. As of 2023, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints has an estimated net worth of around $265 billion.
Oh, yeah. They're worth way more than the Catholic Church.
Wow, I think we covered this, but like, yeah,
We
like,
did. We talked about it. But yeah, the Catholic Church can they really control a
wow.
lot.
Yeah, and the amount of secrecy that exists on that is something as well because we don't actually know what all of their assets are because of the amount because it's old money, like it's
Well,
old,
don't ask me.
old money.
I will tell you that the Pope is in bed with the Illuminati. Don't don't ask me, okay? Because I'm the one who gets everybody. Don't I just get Catholics in trouble. Don't
Oh,
follow
I'm
what I say. Just do your own research, right? But the Vatican Bank and what's in the vault and the catacombs underneath the Vatican, and it's fun. Research it. I mean, you could even look into some if anybody wants to tell me why the Vatican Square has statues all with naked erect penises facing the Vatican Church, facing the you let me know. Let me know if you can tell me why that happened.
I tell you this right now, Erica, that's now a topic. Erect penises at the Vatican. That's the topic of
All
of
the
a future show.
statues in St. Peter's Square facing the basilica have naked erect penises.
Well, maybe that's why they call it a Peter. You're listening to the breakdown. We're on Rumble, Facebook, and for now on the Crusade
For
channel.
now,
Live
the Crusade channel.
Oh man, Jay Sparkle said, "How many of the people that are listening to this bad theology are also rich and completely out of touch?" Well, not me.
Hey, I'm in touch.
She's totally in touch. Oh man. So all right. So you can also join us over on chat. You can also join us on YouTube as well for now. Also, here's another one. Just to jump to another topic before we take off. Texas State Education Board approves curriculum that emphasizes biblical teachings. Critics say the curriculum borders on outright proselytization. I think this is happening in Oklahoma, but it says that this was the Texas Board of Education voted 8-7 to approve a new curriculum that frequently incorporates religious teaching in typical lessons. While supporters claim that the curriculum doesn't proselytize to children and covers multiple religions, not just Christianity, critics argue that the curriculum amounts to unconstitutional religious instruction. The Texas State Board of Education approved the state-developed curriculum, which will be optional in a preliminary vote on Tuesday. The curriculum, called Bluebonnet Learning, contains largely typical elementary-level lessons. However, the smattering of religious references in the curriculum is far from subtle and tends to focus on Christian teaching while leaving education about other religions in the background. In one kindergarten lesson about the Golden Rule, for example, students learn about the Sermon on the Mount that are given a quote from Scripture. Beyond the Sermon on the Mount, there are many lessons included throughout the Bible. The lesson states, Jesus said that the Golden Rule sums up all the important teachings from Scripture. So in everything do unto others as you would have done unto you. So what do you what's your opinion on that, Erica, and Chad as well? What's your opinion on that?
I don't mind schools having a standard that is somewhat based on the golden rule. I don't think that's necessarily biblical. Um, you know, it's not like they're teaching any one concept or forcing anything. I mean, I think there should be prayer in schools. So I don't know why I don't have a problem with it, but I'm biased because I think there should be prayer in schools. I think if you are saying that this is like your basic common sense based golden rule, do
Yeah.
unto others as you would have done unto you. I mean, that's not necessarily biblical just because you say it funny, like in weird old English. Be
Yeah.
nice, right? Just be nice. Do the right thing. I don't have a problem with it. Oh dear. Toby.
Toby's with us. And he joined at the right time. Toby says it's marvelous to join the
Toby.
feed as Erica discusses naked erect penises. I mean,
No.
look, if you're gonna click on it anytime, click on then.
You know, there was no discussion. Sorry. It just wasn't a discussion.
She was discussing it. It was like a 10-minute long segment.
I was by myself. Oh, that just made it worse.
Oh, yeah, that does. I don't know if I would tell people that. I mean, who's gonna be the researcher on that?
Save me.
Just type in erect penises.
Vatican. No,
where.
Vatican. You need to include Vatican in that statement, or what you get is not gonna be what you think.
Like, whoa, what is this? What happened? Like you're checking your internet history. Like somebody, the CIA is like, what is this about?
Yeah, exactly.
My concern about state schools or public schools teaching this stuff is the same concern that I have with state funds and the voucher programs and all these issues in states where they're trying to get voucher programs to take federal funding and follow the student. So if a kid wants to go to a charter school or private school, to take the money with them. Whenever you attach the federal government or the state government to something, you then give that government entity a foothold in your in that particular subject. So, for
Yeah.
instance, with the issue 2 here in Kentucky, it was that the situation where kids in public schools could now have a voucher potentially or something, we don't really know what it was, to follow that student to a charter school with state and federal funds that would normally given to a public school, but now following the child. But my concern is, will the government now increase scrutiny on that charter or private school because now they're receiving federal funds or state funds?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
the moment that you start saying, yeah, government schools can teach Christianity and can teach the Bible, first you're giving, and I have educators in my family, I love them, respect them. You're giving an educator permission to teach something they don't understand. And I'm not saying I understand the Bible better than anybody, but let's say a teacher is out there and that teacher happens to be an avid Bart Ehrman follower or an avid Shelby, what's his name? Shelby Spong, Bishop Shelby Spong, or a follower of a deconstructionist.
No,
And they
you're
use that opportunity to teach against the Bible.
you're running into the same thing. Schools, okay, so I get what you're saying, right? And schools shouldn't teach anything that can have an opinion. Like, that's why they're supposed to teach reading, writing, math, like, because those aren't things that have an opinion. This is how you read, this is how you write, this is how math works, even though they try to change that, right? Um, but they shouldn't be teaching anything, I guess, that you can have an opinion on. I mean,
Yeah, it is the same thing with like with teachers saying now that, oh, well gender is fluid. Well, gender and sex are two different things, and it's a spectrum. Sexuality is a spectrum, and it's like, well, I mean, no, you really shouldn't be, because the first thing they'll do, if I disagree with somebody that says, oh, well, sex is a spectrum, like, no, it's not a spectrum. It is, you can go on a spectrum with it, but it's not a spectrum in that you determine what your sex is simply because of your decision that day. But they'll be like, "Are you a biologist?" No.
are you a biologist?
You're
Right.
not a biblical scholar. You're not a biologist. You're not an economist. You're a social studies teacher, or you're, like Jay Sparkle said, a football coach. It's like, why
Right.
do I want the football coach teaching my kids the Bible? I would much
I
rather have that responsibility myself at home.
Yeah. I think that schools should go back to not being okay, so I don't think you should collect money for your school in your property taxes. I think you should keep that money and that you should go directly to the school, but I think that the school should be paid for by you, right? Like a competition like a restaurant. Like if this school over here in my town is teaching and you pay to go there, but you don't pay property taxes. So you pay for to go to the school that you want to go to based on it being successful, right? So that every town can have a top 300 high school because you're paying for it and you're getting taught what you even locally, like if you are a rural community and the major industry and in your area is farming and most of the people that live in your area don't leave, your schooling should be based on agriculture.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a good
So,
thought. Teach the
like, I
basics.
pay for my kids to go to school at my local school, and they're learning the 3 R's and then whatever is my area. If I go to an Amish school, it's not gonna be Catholic.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand why we don't do education that way, but
Well, and then not only is it, I've never heard that before. That's a really good thought process because if you are in an agricultural state, like Kentucky is an ag state,
Mhm.
if you're in an agricultural state, your education should be, if you're going to do public education, it should teach reading, writing, arithmetic, and then if there's a certain focus that you want it to be on there, sure, let it be on that focus. I think the question for me, and this is something that I have yet, in all of my Google expertise that I've not quite been able to figure out, how much of your property taxes, and I'm going to say the Commonwealth of Kentucky and in Indiana there, Erica, how much of your property tax, what is the percentage of your property tax, the actual amount each year that goes to public education? Because it's going to be more than what federal and state attach to your child in public education.
yeah.
And I don't think it's that much. Now, and I'm not saying I advocate for it. I still think you should be able to opt out of that tax, especially if you don't have kids that go to public schools or if you don't have kids at all, or your kids are grown. You shouldn't be doing that. You shouldn't have to pay for the public school system or keep it afloat. But I don't know the amount of money that goes from there. And people are like, well, it's just pennies on the dollar. It doesn't matter. It's
Oh, I
still
don't think I mean, it's under 20% of the total taxes that I pay, but my property taxes are a huge chunk of
yeah,
my overall county, like, what I pay to the county and whatever my community school district is, right?
right.
And I have a school board that's appointed, they're not even elected, and I'm paying I mean, it's like 17% of my property tax goes to the school.
Really?
Yeah, and
17%.
it's over I my property taxes are well, I mean, I don't wanna, like, call myself out or whatever, but they're, close to 10 grand.
Wow. Holy crap. Either your house is huge or you just have like a really expensive property taxes because
Land, well, property taxes are expensive, but it's land,
land.
right?
Yeah,
So, but I still if 20% of nearing 20% of that is going to a school that I have no kids in that's
right.
teaching crap, that's a lot of money.
It is a lot. That is a lot of money. Yes, and that is the question that a lot of people have about that. Well, the question that I have, I'm not sure a lot of people, but I have that question about this. What is it going to be for that? But then by the way, the real show should be over. Eric, do you have a few minutes for overdrive or no?
Yeah, I got a couple minutes.
Okay, let's. I'm going to go ahead and play us out real quick. Like Bill O'Reilly. All right, folks, this is the end of the official program. Go to aaronbarker.substack.com to stay up with the program. Also, go to crusadechannel.com, and there you'll be able to listen to the show and all the other great programs over there. Until next time, keep Christ supremely valuable. Next time, it's going to be in like 30 seconds. Yeah, I stopped it this week both times.
Fantastic.
Timmy says, sorry, I don't want to insult Toby like that. Timmy says, I believe in trade school as well for kids. Let them use their God-given skills. He also says, teach critical thinking skills as well. I don't think a lot of people have critical thinking skills there. Really.
Yeah.
Um,
You're running out of people that are able to teach that.
yeah.
Because we pretty much have a generation of teachers right now that don't know how to think critically.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm not that honestly, why aren't you learning that at home? Like, you should be learning that at the age of 1, critical thinking. Don't touch that, it's hot. Like, those are things that you should really be learning at home, that you just need to build on. The school shouldn't be where they actually learn that. The school shouldn't be where they learn a ton of this stuff. It should be learned at home. But that's a whole nother conversation.
I mean, and then the conversation about should public schools even exist? Should the Department
No.
of Education even exist? Should that? Because I don't
No,
think
that's what I'm
it's
saying.
yeah.
I'm saying it goes back to being funded by the people whose kids are in that school, and it could be my family room for crying out loud, right?
Right.
Like, by the way, I also think we've lost the value of having different ages. Now, I'm not saying you have a senior in high school in the room with a first grader, but I do think we miss out on the value of part of a learning tool being teaching it to others, where you have a third grader helping a first grader learn division, where
Oh,
you had kids that were different ages in the same classroom that the teacher was teaching at different levels.
right. That's actually a really good point because the way that I learn a lot of times is I'll read something and then I'll walk around talking about it out loud as if I'm giving a lecture or teaching on it or talking about it to somebody else because
Right.
it's just another part of your brain that's being activated or sitting or writing it down, you
Right.
know.
Well, you have the read it, write it, say it, right? Those are your 3. Read it, write it, say it. That's the process of memorization. If you add to that teaching it to someone else, that's just extra reinforcement.
Yeah, you know that there's a lot of so the teaching like the Orton Gillingham method that they teach with kids that have dyslexia. There's a lot of that that's included in there, like touching and feeling and textures and learning, and then like you're saying, reading it, writing it, and speaking it. Those different like involving all of that. I believe that if they were to use Orton Gillingham or some type of really high quality dyslexic type training, because there's a lot of kids that have dyslexia that are never diagnosed. A lot of people that are
Mhm.
never diagnosed with it at all. But if they use that and incorporate that into regular teaching, I think that would not only help dyslexic or kids with dyslexia learn better, obviously, with their peers rather than having to be put in an extremely expensive extracurricular tutoring or training. But it would also help students that do not have a dyslexia to learn just as well or even better also.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of that stuff too. It's like, feeling things and the texture of things and stuff. It's really fascinating. And I forget a lot of times that you have expertise in this area of tutoring and teaching when it comes to speech therapy. So
Yeah, it's a very I mean, it's but I don't necessarily not so much with dyslexic, but with autistic kids, and, there's no other way for them to learn, and if you don't start incorporating touch and sound and feel and texture as part of their memory, even taste and smell at the same time. I mean, if you have a kid that, does homework every day and someone's always cooking and they're studying for a test,
ah,
you you better, you better send them to school with that food in their lunch or something, right? Because you can incorporate every sound, every smell, how bright it is when you study to the conditions of the test taking and to your success in taking the test,
no way.
based on how similar the surroundings are to when you studied for the test.
Wow. So how do you prep for that stuff? Like how do you make it, like because a house obviously the atmosphere at a house is much different than it is at a school. So how
Right.
do you do that? How do you recreate that or help that become a part of it?
I mean, if you can, right, you study at a library. They have fluorescent lights or where you have the same type of lighting that you would have in a school. Go to the library to study. Don't study in your kitchen or your bedroom with your little desk light. Why would you do that? That's not gonna trigger any type of recollection to the facts that you're reading in the situation where now you're under pressure and the lights are bright. I mean, at least try to create as much of the situation as you can or like a go to a cafeteria somewhere. Like, if you know that you're gonna be taking a test in a large room, like, let's say you're taking a standardized test and you're in a really big room, I would I would go to, like, a buffet and study,
Hmm.
where there's constant noise, where there's constant people talking, where there's constant traffic, where and there's different yeah, I would not necessarily for the smells on that one because who knows what you're gonna smell that day, but, like, don't go to a hospital to study for a test and then take the test in a cafeteria where you smell cinnamon rolls. You're not gonna remember a damn thing, right? Like, you don't go from a sterile environment to study to an environment where you have all this exterior stimulation. You know what I'm saying. You just try to create as much of the same environment as you can.
That's incredible. And you said that this was a lot of times. Now, is this for anybody or is this for just like you're saying for autistic children?
It's crucial for autistic children, but it works for anybody. Why wouldn't you try it? Why wouldn't you take advantage of it? I guarantee you Elon Musk studies and or, like, contemplates and executes in the same environment.
Huh. Because I know that there are certain, like Bree and I like to go to, there's a particular library branch in our area. We don't like the other ones. We've tried them, but there's a particular library branch that we like to go to, and she sits at one table and I sit at another table, and she likes to we write, but we're typing. We like to write, be creative in that space, and it's specifically that space because, like you're saying, it's quiet, the lighting that's there, the view that's there. I think that's also I like you draw inspiration in different places. It sounds silly, but if you write with your non-dominant hand, like if I write with my left hand, I think differently. If I'm sitting here at my desk, like my typewriter's over here, if I'm sitting at my typewriter, when I'm typing on my typewriter, I think differently than if I'm typing on my computer. Is
Right.
that similar to what you're talking about, or is it
Yeah.
off?
No, absolutely. Like, some kids, work well. Okay, this is not just Asperger's. You're talking about kids who are a little bit more severe, but are still functional, right? Where you might have an independent education plan, but you're not in a special school. I've had kids in that situation tell me that they need to take tests with their shoes off.
Ooh, interesting.
Okay. Um, like, at first I thought it was weird, but maybe they're grounding and they just don't even know it.
Yeah, yeah,
Right? Like,
that's
I don't know, but it's not a one-off. It's something that many of these children feel more comfortable in a pressure situation if they don't have their shoes on. And I find that very peculiar, but you shouldn't push that off. So even if you're somebody that doesn't have a known learning disability, why would you put I wouldn't push off anything like that.
so
If
you're
that's
so
where if that fosters comfort to you or functionality, it's not necessarily feng shui, but you're just going with what your own body is telling you is the most conducive environment for you.
Which is another reason why why teaching in a classroom and teaching the same way to all kinds of different learning methods misses a lot of kids. Like, I
Right.
wonder how many people, and you obviously, like you just mentioned an IEP there. I wonder how many kids, if they were removed from that environment and put in a more, in a different environment that was more conducive to their learning style, would even be on an IEP. And I
Yeah.
know that there's some, some things that, organic issues or physiological issues that they may have that puts them there, but I wonder how that would be more effective for them if they were actually surrounded by or nurtured in an environment that catered to that specific type of training.
I don't wonder, I know. I have a niece that's missing the middle of her brain, and she's a sophomore in high school. She has an independent education plan, but she's a sophomore in high school. She's only 1 year behind the normal kids her age. And that only comes from fostering the type of cross-pollination between these specialties and only because she had access to it.
Were you helpful in that? Did you work with her as well in that, or
Her being born like that is what started me on the study with the kids that had autism and what the benefits could be if the specialties were crossed. If we crossed it and put the different doctors together. If you put them together and they all were talking to each other, what would the benefits be? What could you do? But it's only for kids that have ACC. So, I don't know what the I mean, I can diagnostically project the success, but I can't say it for sure with kids that aren't disabled in that way.
huh? So weren't did you involve yourself with any school boards or anything like that? Because people in the chat are saying that you should be on a school board.
No, I'm not allowed to go to school board meetings where I live, and my kids are my kids are past, like, elementary and high school age, so, I don't have that much, and like I said, my school board is elected or appointed, not elected, so they would definitely not appoint me, I promise you. I get escorted physically out of school board meetings, that doesn't so that wouldn't really work. I went to a specialty with kids who have this agenesis of the corpus callosum after my niece was born. So, before that, it was just general speech pathology, like with my DDS or whatever, but I focused on it when she was born and got involved in a privately funded study that we raised money for to look at kids who have this ACC and their success with different organic treatments, not all natural, just organic, like if you have the heart side of the ACC. You can have different effects of it. It's a spectrum disorder, right? So some kids it will affect also digestive or different parts. So if you have a heart doctor involved with your ACC doctor, is your head doctor and your heart doctor talking? Is the speech doctor looking at what medications they're being given that might affect how their muscular structure is being used? And maybe that's why they can't talk or why they're nonverbal. Like what we just looked at a lot of different kids. We put over 600 kids through it for free. We raised money, and we put
Wow.
over 600 kids through it. More than one round. We did 3 rounds, and then we did a control group who had nothing, and a lot of the kids in the control group, are alive, but are nonverbal, non-successful.
That had the ACC, is that what you're saying?
Mhm,
So you started out as a speech pathologist.
mhm,
Your niece was born with ACC,
mhm.
and then what you said was I looked it up, the agenesis of the corpus callosum.
Colossum. Yeah, you're basically missing the middle of your brain that enables the right and left side to talk.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so now now this is also a spectrum, so you can have that children that are born with this defect that are nonverbal and children that are high functioning as well, or
You have children that are born with this that, don't live past 2, 3, 4. Some never talk, some never walk, some never like, you have to have the involvement of every type of specialist to be as successful as my niece is. And I don't most kids don't even have access to that. And the only reason I got access to it was because of her and being in the hospital with her and talking to her doctors and saying, "Hey," us talking that or they actually invited me. They were like, "Hey, would you like to be part of this study?" And I was like, "Oh." The only part I didn't like was I actually had to travel around and raise money, and I didn't like asking people for money.
well, obviously you were pretty successful to put 600 kids in 3 different studies
Yep.
to do that. So
It's
that's
it's
incredible.
very cool. It just scratches the surface of what people could do if the information was really shared correctly.
So this condition, it's a rare condition. How many children are born with that yearly? Do you know?
I think it's 1 in 30,000
Okay.
that have ACC. I mean, it may be higher than that now since when we started, but that would be forced.
Any known causes or anything like that, or
Water, they think, if you have extra fluid, in the utero or of the if they're looking for, like, brain fluid, if the fetus has a if you have a high level of brain fluid in the kid and all there's a normal amount of water on the brain that all kids have in the uterus. And it depletes, it dissipates, right, as the baby grows. If it doesn't, it can cause this.
wow.
But, I mean, it's not a genetic disorder, right? It's like, Williams syndrome where, like, that's, like, you're missing the 7th chromosome, right? So it's genetic in that it's chromosomal. It's something that happened in the formation process that got missed or deleted, but it's not genetic as in you got it from your parents.
Gotcha. That's that. So now, how did that spin off into study like your assistance with autism? Was that what you did in your pathology before this, or was
Yeah,
that
most of the kids I worked with in speech pathology were autistic kids. Tried to work with nonverbal kids, for just initial contact. So most of the kids I worked with didn't make eye contact. They couldn't be touched. They, didn't speak at all, really. I had
wow?
very few. I mean, in the beginning, when I was doing my trials and clinicals and stuff like that, I worked with kids who had cleft palates or kids whose tongue was connected too far and they never got a cut, or kids whose teeth gave them different weird speech impediments, or you had a stutter, like those things. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did that in the beginning.
Well, so is this what you went to school for?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that. I don't think I ever knew what you went to school for. I knew that that's what you did. I didn't know if that's something you actually went to school for. That because you did your training in that. That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
You're a layered individual, Erica.
I'm a
Like,
linguist.
yeah.
I just was always interested in how people talked. Why do people talk differently just based on where you live? I want to know why that happens.
That's something that's fascinated me too. That part of where accents came from and why people like my I don't want to say ancestors because it's really close, but my family is from Eastern Kentucky. So why are there certain words down there in Eastern Kentucky? And I believe it's because a lot of Irish and Scottish folks settled in Eastern Kentucky, and that kind of morphed into the way that the Southern accent
Yeah.
sounds. It's really
But even
amazing.
that, like, how come some people can roll their R's and some people can't?
Oh yeah.
Right? Like, how what do you mean? And if I spoke a language where everybody rolls their R's, are there people like that over there where that just can't talk right?
Yeah, they don't have their R's like they have a speech impediment because they can't roll their R's.
Right, so that would be different. Like, that's a whole different speech impediment that you wouldn't even have that here. Because if you couldn't roll your R's in the United States, nobody would care.
Yeah. Why are you rolling your R's, weirdo?
Right. Nobody cares that you can't do that here, but if you were Italian, that would be a problem.
Huh. That's interesting. I mean, I've never thought that deeply into something like that.
Sorry.
No, it's incredible. I think it's fascinating. I mean, this opens up a whole like I feel like I'm interviewing you right now. This is all like you started talking about it. Like I'm like, okay, turning on the interview questions here.
Sorry.
No, there's expertise like that. You don't think about that people have that. But I think I've asked you before if I have any speech impediments or anything like that, or an accent or anything like that. Do you think I might have? I can't remember something about my S's or something. I can't remember.
They're very pronounced. You know how some people, you can hear it, you hear the S, you hear it. Your
I don't know what
S's are
you're talking
very pronounced.
about. I don't know. I'm seriously don't know what you're talking about. I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah, you don't have a Southern drawl, right? Like your words are very sharp.
That's something I don't like. People have said that before. Like somebody asked me one time, I used to work in a call center. They were like, where are you from? I was like, well, Kentucky. You sound like you're from Texas. I was like, I never, ever have heard anybody say I sound like I'm from Texas. I don't even have people that say you sound like you're from Kentucky. I don't understand. But yeah, that's pretty incredible. Well, the whole, I know we've kind of taken a turn from the direction of we're talking about, but yeah, so your niece she's functioning properly. You said that she's in the 10th grade and she is,
She's a
um,
sophomore in high school, and she's a year the same age as as the juniors, right? So she's a year behind. She's in her regular school, but she has an IEP. So she has different teachers, whatever. But
yeah,
her right like her sports, she's a cheerleader, just like all the other cheerleaders. This is a kid who doesn't have the middle of her brain, you guys. Like, I don't know how to explain the fact that she shouldn't be able to walk.
wow,
She shouldn't be able to walk. Her left, if you need to know that the brain finds a way to you are not your brain. Have you ever heard that before?
yeah,
Like your conscience is different than your brain,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
right? If I needed proof of that, I would point to her because her brain does not work, but she obviously is conscious.
Wow,
But there's no reason why it should work that way.
and fully functional. Like you're a
Mhm.
cheerleader. That's coordination. That requires the communication of your body, your brain to your body, and the right
Right.
and left and all that. That's
Right.
and, but
But
it's
when
also
she was little, we had to put, weighted belts on her, like actual garters, like, that you would zip up in the back and make tight so that, balance would be in the right place for her to learn how to walk. So let's say you're a kid that has this, that doesn't have access to that type of specialist that would know developmentally that you need this weighted and also would know that as someone missing the middle of your brain, having that weighted belt on you makes you feel safe, like being swaddled.
hmm.
And in that way, that's the only way you learned how to walk. So what if you didn't have that? You're never gonna learn how to walk.
Wow. That is the treatment and the expertise, the programs, like people that have strokes,
Yeah.
the amount your success rate depends on the quality of care and
Yeah.
what people can do to help you relearn how to walk and function properly. Because there's a certain amount of time after strokes, right, that you have to start relearning those skills till you're just
Yeah.
not gonna learn them again.
Yeah. And the longer you wait to start relearning them, the worse it's gonna be.
Yeah. So is this on your side of the family or is this on your husband's side of the family? Your niece?
My niece is she's no, it's on my side of the family. It's my brother's daughter, middle
Okay.
daughter, right? So, yeah. And it's just a fluke. Like, there's no cause
So what
as to
caused
why it happens.
No, I mean, of course, she's your niece, so I'm assuming, like, what was your driving force to be there for your niece in this situation? Was like, I mean, because most people would be like, "Oh yeah, that's my niece, and I love my niece." Blah blah blah. What was your driving force? Because you got kids of your own.
Yeah, I
So
was, well, she's younger, right, than both of mine. So, and, she also she has an older brother who is so far off the charts in the other direction. Um, to be perfectly honest, I didn't think that my brother and my sister-in-law were gonna be able to go from a kid that was speaking 3 languages at 4 to a kid that couldn't speak. And I didn't see them putting on the flak jacket and getting ready for battle, and I just knew that's what it was gonna take.
wow. So you just stepped in with your expertise and knowledge, and just
And they
like,
let me, right? Like, they were like, I wasn't like, "Hey, listen, you guys aren't prepared for this."
yeah.
Right? I'm like, I don't feel good about you guys being able to handle this. I just knew that they were that was just reality. My brother had never had anything bad happen to him in his entire life. And I just knew I'm like, uh-oh. Like, she doesn't need to be your experiment in learning how to cope with really difficult situations. Maybe when she's 10, but
Yeah.
not maybe not right now.
And I'm sure obviously you took charge, but obviously you walked alongside and helped them so that they could learn how to cope and with
Yeah.
with the discovery of this and also with her education and continuing that too. So
Yeah, like, it's gonna be okay. It's
wow,
gonna be okay, right? You're
yeah,
not by yourselves.
that's incredible. I mean, everybody needs an aunt like you.
No. Okay, I'm also the aunt that nobody wants to leave their kids with once they get older, so don't get it twisted.
Uh,
They're
that's
like,
awesome. Hey, look at that. We got into the psyche and the id of Erica today.
"Oh,
That's
that's a little sorry. Sorry, guys."
I'm loving it. I mean, I think it's fantastic. It always fascinates me why people go into certain fields, why they choose certain fields, and why they choose, like not to compare it, but you think about like why would somebody want to be a proctologist? What makes a dude want to be a gynecologist?
I
You know,
don't
it's
know. Oh, well, hold on a second. I know what makes a dude wanna be a gynecologist. I don't know what makes a woman wanna be a gynecologist.
oh,
I
yeah.
don't.
I mean,
I
when you
don't
think,
understand that
remember
at
that
all.
episode of Friends where it had oh man, what was his name? The actor's name that played that was delivering Ross and Susan's baby, and he was talking to Rachel. He's like, "So are you a waitress?" And she was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Do you ever go home and think if I see another cup of coffee?"
Yes. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, Erica, I've kept you longer than I think you wanted to stay. I really appreciate it. And if you all have any other questions, of course, follow us at aaronbarker.substack.com. And we will, hopefully, I have no idea what I was going to say because I looked at my messages on my phone and it was, but anyway, thank you everybody for staying with us, joining us. Don't forget to share the show and like it. Eric, as always, thanks for hanging out with us. And we'll see y'all next week.
Bye, y'all.